Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today we'll be local nursery plant shopping at Green Acres Nursery and Supply in Irving, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Growfolds for daily 1-hour plant shopping videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel with the notification bell on. It is a beautiful morning, and I decided to go to Irving, Texas, just to see this beautiful nursery that I haven't been to in a while. I typically go to the Green Acres Nursery and Supply out in Melissa, Texas, since I am based out in North Dallas. And to my plant foldies, for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. I hope you enjoy this morning installation of all of the gorgeous plants we will be seeing at this nursery. So this is actually the primary nursery out in North Dallas as far as Green Acres is concerned. You can see that fall is in full force. We've seen a lot of chrysanthemums or mums and a ton of crotons, and you can see that they have some beautiful pumpkin planters, and you can see that they have a couple of mums already, actually a lot of mums that are not quite in bloom yet. You actually want to buy your mums when they haven't fully bloomed, so you can actually have a longer lasting plant with blooms. As you can see right here, plant foldies, we're going to walk in, and I remember going to this plant nursery for the first time before the Green Acres, Melissa, Texas location was created, and I was just blown away because they have so many different plants. And then as far as the organization and just the amount of plant supplies they have for landscaping, irrigation, indoor and outdoor plants, they just have aisles and aisles of different types of plant supplies, from fertilizers to soil to irrigation to hoses to planters to pest control to seeds. Everywhere you turn around, you can see that they've got so many different plant supplies. It's almost like a big box store just for plants, though. So when you talk about a big box store plant shopping alternative, this is truly one place that I would recommend going to, and that would be Green Acres. Both locations, but I did want to highlight the Irving, Texas one. This is the OG one out in the North Dallas area. You can see here they've got so many beautiful plants. This aisle right here, all of the planters on this aisle would be up my alley in terms of just what planters I would put in my my home, as well as these right here. So they've got some concrete planters. They've got some gray planters right here. This would be perfect for, say, a Philodendron gloriosum, since that philodendron tends to want to crawl across the soil substrate versus climbing up a pole. And you can see they've got a bunch of indoor plant pottery and planters for your plant needs. I love this, and there's just a huge selection. I would say that this one is a little bit more established than the Melissa one, but the Melissa one is steadily getting restocked with even more items. Irving isn't that far of a drive for me. Honestly, both the Melissa and Irving ones are around the same I guess range of travel time depending on traffic, but you can see they have a full-blown planting bar right here. Green Acres Nursery and Supply also has a lot of classes. They recently had, I think, a terrarium building class and kokedama class. And you can see over here that they already have this planter all potted up with all of these plants ready to go. I remember buying for $9.75 several plant cuttings in a 4-inch planter. So I thought that was a really good deal. And I do see that they've got tons of uncommon and rare syngoniums right here. I do believe these ones were actually sourced out from Pearl of Toltec plants. So if you love rare and uncommon plants imported from Thailand, check out Toltec plants. I love Pearl and her husband, and just that whole family is amazing. But going back to all of these syngoniums, you already know, plant foldies, I love syngoniums. I may end up getting the pink salmon, which would be on the very left corner with the speckling right over here today. We'll see what that looks like, because I have spent quite a bit of money buying plants since PlantCon 2024 in Dallas. And plant foldies, if you haven't seen that video, I have about 6 videos plus 2 compilations of PlantCon, so definitely check that out. But what a start for this exciting plant shopping video out in Green Acres Nursery and Supply. So we're going to go check out the indoor tropical plants today. I'm not going to spend time in the outdoor section. So we are about to be entering paradise. And I just remember being blown away when I first visited this nursery a little while back. And you can see that they have it fully stocked. It's super full. It is another urban jungle right here. And that's the thing about going to local plant nurseries, is you actually see a wider range of different types of uncommon plants and just plants in general. Big box store plant shopping, I love that a lot. And you already know, as far as big box store plant shopping, I would still recommend going to Walmart, Home Depot, or Lowe's. And the fact of the matter is those types of big box stores are a little bit more accessible to the general public. And I say this in every single video, but I do believe that plants in general need to be accessible to everybody. I don't think that everybody should be denied plants, whether it's uncommon or rare, and whether it's a price point that we can all afford. And big box stores tend to do that, but let's just say that a local plant nursery like Green Acres Nursery and Supply has some really cost-effective plants. As you can see here, I've just panned around just to show you a general view of all of the beautiful plants they have available. They come in many different varieties, shapes, and sizes. The first one we're going to take a look at is a Philodendron fuzzy petiole, beautiful plant, and this is only for $50. So you can already see that if you want an instant gratification plant, a plant that you don't have to wait to grow, you can get the large plants. And then over here is a Ficus umbellata, and I do have a Ficus umbellata in my plant collection. This one is a little bit more of a finicky plant, at least in my growing conditions for my home. I just have a little bit of a struggle with it just because it is a little bit more spider mite prone. It does require quite a bit of light. So there's just two factors that make it a little bit more challenging as far as a plant. And, you know, for those that go to my channel to learn a little bit about plant care, I would say plants that are easy care would be plants that are low light tolerant, keyword low light tolerant, drought tolerant, and fast growing. Those are actually three of the characteristics I look for in my plants. You know, there have been a lot of YouTubers that have really talked about downsizing their plant collection, and I started to downsize my plant collection, and then I was inspired to purchase more plants. But to go back to that, sometimes inundating yourself with a lot of plants, and you know, my plant shopping videos don't necessarily help me, for instance, because I'm always exposed to all of these plants, can be a little bit overwhelming. So I always encourage anybody that are growing plants to have grace for yourself. Make sure that you know, you give yourself a little bit of grace if all of your plants are not necessarily doing well. Sometimes just being inundated with a lot of plants can be a little bit overwhelming. That's why it's always good to check out easy to care for plants. But to go back to all of the plants I'm talking about in Green Acres, as you can see right here, this is an Epipremnum pinnatum. This one is the mature form, and if you notice, the mature form actually has larger leaves and it's fenestrating. Typically you will see this sold as like a hanging basket, a trailing plant, but in the actual native environment such as the Philippines, which is where my family is originally from, Epipremnum pinnatum are endemic, and they grow up coconut trees in general, and they start to fenestrate. Most of these aroids, or what you call philodendron or tropical plants, are what you call epiphytes. So for instance, this Monstera dubia, it actually needs to be on some type of support for it to actually grow larger leaves and for it to really feel comfortable growing in its natural environment. So that is another advice that I would give for plant lovers. If you're collecting plants, know its natural growth habit. Meaning, yes, we do want to grow some plants in hanging baskets, and that's possible. But for the majority of plants that we actually grow in our collections, the majority of these philodendrons, these syngoniums, pothos plants in general, they want to crawl up a totem pole, a moss pole, or a legitimate tree like they do in the wild. So I just want you to be a little bit more aware of that. But as you can see with Green Acres Nursery and Supply, they have a bunch of beautiful piper plants. I've heard that piper plants actually don't travel well via mail. So it's always nice to see these types of plants available at a local nursery, because then you don't have to worry about it traveling in a mail, you know, in a box in the mail, being delayed. So that's the reason why I also recommend going to local plant nurseries. I am fortunate though that I live in the North Dallas area. The Dallas-Fort Worth area has a huge plant community, and I did want to take the time to thank all of the plant foldies, my community, for continuing to tune into my plant shopping videos on a nightly basis. I have tried my very best to provide daily content. Sometimes it's not always possible, and that's the reason why I will default and do maybe a compilation video of some of my previous work. Recently I ended up doing some PlantCon 2024 Dallas videos, and those compilations are super long playing, so they're about 3 hours long, but they're bingeable content. So I tend to do that when I'm not able to produce a brand new plant shopping video. But today, super excited that I was able to provide a detailed look at some of the plants that they have available at Green Acres Nursery and Supply. You can see right here, they've actually sourced out some Costa Farms plants, which to me is a little bit surprising because Costa Farms plants typically are seen at big box stores, but it is nice to see that they do have them at local plant nurseries. You know, some people have some mixed opinions about big box store plants. For me, big box store plants, again, make it a little bit more accessible for some people that may not have a wonderful local plant nursery like Green Acres available in their area. I always say, find the plant that brings you joy. Source the plant where you find the plant that brings you joy. Just remember that if you are gonna buy plants, the only thing I would also say as far as the source, make sure you find it from a seller that has good practices. We don't want to buy plants that somebody has poached or has sold or found illegally. That's just not sustainable to the environment, and it's just not best practice. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we do have some African violets, and I am actually impressed that all three of my variegated African violets have done very well. Some people will say that African violets are a little bit finicky of a plant. Here is my tips for African violets. Definitely bright indirect light. You want to make sure that you are bottom watering them. So you never want to get the leaves of the African violet wet, and that is basically it. I have been able to get away with not watering my African violets as often, but they did say to keep their soil moist. Now over here is a Ficus triangularis, and that is another example of a plant that is large size already that you can purchase at Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Sometimes I don't want to wait for a plant to grow that large. Sometimes I already want a statement piece, and I don't have a problem buying already a large plant. Although most people will say that buying a plant when it is actually small and watching it grow is a lot more satisfying. I could agree to a certain extent because then you can see the journey of the plant. But as you can see here, plant foldies, look at all of the plants at Green Acres Plant Nursery and Supplies. I'm always impressed. And what I'm also impressed about is I was able to meet up with my friend Tanya, who actually takes care of the plants here. I believe she is one of the buyers, and I want to say thank you, Tanya, for always taking the time to talk to me, to talk about your passion about plants, to entertain. So plant foldies, if you want to know some of the processes of me filming these plant videos, you have to think I am literally in a nursery for a minimum of 1 hour, sometimes more. I do take the audio out whenever I film and just do a voiceover, but it's always easy to talk to somebody while I'm filming versus just walking around in silence. That's also the biggest joys of why I like to do plant shopping videos, because I do meet a lot of kind people. The plant community is awesome. And you know, with Tanya, she has actually been the one person that has really elevated a lot of the plants, at least from what her passion is. Like, she's really trying to push for more of the rare and uncommon plants. She does the buying. And as far as the plant pricing, Green Acres Nursery and Supply definitely has some very cost-effective pricing, because when you think about it, local nurseries may not always have the premium pricing as far as like a big box store like Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot. But as you can see right over here, they have plant pricing that is going to be cost effective, and we're going to delve into that a little bit more so. But I did want to just keep panning over here and showing you the plants. Now this one right here is an Epipremnum pinnatum albo. This one is for $20, and I actually don't have any more Epipremnum pinnatum albo. I am a little disappointed that my mature version of an Epipremnum pinnatum albo ended up, number one, I'm gonna tell you this straight up, I ended up neglecting it in my my garage under a grow light, and it just ended up dying. I am a little disappointed because it was already fenestrating, it was already large, and that's the reason why I need to try to find an Epipremnum pinnatum albo. I may end up getting it here for $20, or I may end up finding it at a big box store. I know that Costa Farms has already released the Epipremnum pinnatum as a trending tropicals plant, so we'll see what that looks like. But beautiful variegation. This used to be a very uncommon plant, but like all plants, if you wait long enough, they will end up becoming a little bit more readily accessible, which is super exciting because plants, again, you know, it's one of those things, it's literally plant trends. Sometimes you want to buy that variegated philodendron or that super new release syngonium for over $200. But if you wait about a year, maybe even 6 months, you may be able to find a plant for a little bit more cost effective. And here's why I say that. Every single plant trend that you see, once that plant has either made it to a big box store or even a local plant nursery like Green Acres, you will see that those prices plummet down. It's all about the right plant at the right price for me, and that's the reason why I really try to vet out certain plant nurseries, certain plant shops, even big box stores. That way you get the best cost-effective pricing. But as you can see here, for instance, we have a Monstera Thai constellation, and we already know 4 years ago, and I was in that situation too, plant foldies, where I bought a 2-leaf 1-node cutting, I believe, for $300. That wasn't even fully rooted. Luckily, I do have that plant, that Monstera plant, and I was able to grow it into a really large size. It is about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, and we already talked about me doing a houseplant tour. It is coming, plant foldies. I have been working very hard to, number one, clean my my house, number two, plant style my plants to where I can do a very detailed plant nursery houseplant tour at my home. You can see right over here, plant foldies. Green Acres Nursery and Supply has a rare plant greenhouse section. So this one is actually locked off. So thank you to Tanya for opening this up and giving me some access to film some of the plants. Here is an Epipremnum pinnatum marble for $200, but you can see that it is already fenestrated. It is already on a moss pole, and that's actually a plant I've debated on purchasing. You know, for $200, it's already growing up a pole. It's already fenestrated. It's got some beautiful leaves, and it is a pretty good sized plant. Some people will even sell, you know, the Epipremnum pinnatum marble in like a 3 or 4 inch container for like $40. So I really feel like a full mature plant like this already is a really good deal. I have a lot of plants that are growing on totem poles and moss poles, and that's because I'm really pushing the limits in terms of getting the plants to mature and really get those large leaves. You can see right here, this is a Philodendron Pink Princess. And as far as a Philodendron Pink Princess, we've seen a lot of different varieties of Philodendron Pink Princess. That one's not as variegated, but it just really depends. You wanna make sure you are finding a Philodendron Pink Princess with higher pink variegation if that's what you're looking for. But on the flip side, if you want a Philodendron Pink Princess that has a little bit of pink and some beautiful dark foliage, go for it. It doesn't make the plant any less valuable, at least in my opinion, if it doesn't have that big of a variegation. Sometimes that dark foliage is gorgeous. Now over here is a Philodendron Strawberry Shake that they also have on sale. I don't know if that is actually the tissue cultured form. I ended up buying one actually from Art Flower Garden. It's another Indonesian importer out in, you know, when I went to PlantCon 2024, and it's still acclimating in water. I just want to push out a little bit more roots before I put it in a substrate. I may actually end up growing a lot of my plants that I bought from Indonesia in leca or pond. I feel like semi-hydroponics is the way to go. I have converted a lot of my Alocasia into semi-hydroponics. Some Syngoniums have gone into pond, so we'll check what that looks like when I do my plant houseplant tour. Now this one over here is a Philodendron Florida Ghost. I really like the Philodendron Florida Ghost. It comes out with like a minty white leaf, and it darkens over time as it matures. I just love all of the Philodendron Florida Floridas in general. The Philodendron Florida Beauty obviously is that variegated form. I am looking for a Philodendron Florida Bronze, and check this out. This is a Philodendron Red Moon, and you already know, actually that's a red moon. This is a Philodendron Variegated Moonlight, and you can see that it is variegated. Super exciting to see that. And again, plant foldies, when it comes to variegation, it really depends on how much variegation a plant has and how much you're willing to pay for that variegation. That's really the plant pricing when it comes down to it. But as you can see right here, this is a Philodendron Red Moon, and what makes the Philodendron Red Moon interesting is not necessarily the variegation, it is actually the petioles and the stems, how it has like a half moon, like it has like white and then red stem on it. I do think that it is an overpriced Philodendron in my personal opinion, but you know, some people go for that. Now this is an example of a Philodendron Florida Beauty that doesn't have high variegation. The good thing about a plant that doesn't have high variegation is if it has a little bit more green, that means that that green is actually going to make that plant a little bit more how do I say, more vigorous in its growth habit, just because there's more chlorophyll, so it's able to photosynthesize. You can see here, this is a Monstera albo. Monstera albos, I am super surprised that it's actually been able to hold on to its actual price. They are still quite pricey. Like this one is for $275, but look at how white and juicy those roots are. You can see that that is very much a healthy Monstera albo. Would you say that it's a high variegated one? I would say it's okay. I wouldn't say it's some of the highest ones. I am super proud and biased because I have a super high variegated Monstera albo that I got from Fitzgerald's Tropicals, which is another local plant grower out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They propagate all of their plants in-house, and it's super exciting to, you know, support those local businesses, those that actually propagate, chop and prop is what I say, businesses. I'm actually entertaining potentially growing my own plants, propping them, and possibly selling them down the line under Grow Folds plants. So we'll see what that looks like. The YouTube channel has done very well, and it's because you plant foldies have given me so much viewership, have given me a lot of engagements via hitting the like button. And if you haven't made it to that button yet, please do, because it does help me out. And then also just leaving comments, sharing my videos on your social medias really has grown the community. We're already approaching 11,000 subscribers, and I am just shocked because I really have only been doing plant YouTube videos for a good 10 months, close to a year now. And that's the fun part about seeing a community grow. I did put a lot of hard work into it, sweat and tears, literal tears, just because sometimes I get a little bit frustrated that I'm not able to go film plants always. Sometimes my life gets in the way, and if you've seen me or hear me talk a lot about, you know, just personal things during this plant video, it's because I utilize a lot of my plant shopping videos to talk to you guys. It's more like a personal blog as well as a plant shopping video. It's a dialogue. I almost look at my plant content as being a little bit more different in a sense that it's almost like a podcast. So I have been given, feedback that some people literally will turn on my videos and not necessarily watching everything, but just listening to me talk. So I have made it a little bit of a conscious effort to kind of keep talking. Hopefully that is your niche. That's what you like, because I am trying to just get you guys a little bit more conversation when it comes to that. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we are still in the rare area, and this is a beautiful Alocasia variegated Frydek. These are, I think, $150, and you know, that is one of those hot item Alocasias, variegated Alocasias. Like this one has so much variegation, gorgeous plant. Now I do have to ask, for anybody that grows Alocasia in semi-hydroponics, which is using pon or leca, whenever you actually convert them from soil to leca, is there a transition period where the Alocasia's health slightly declines, like some of the leaves start to droop, some of the leaves die off? I asked this because one of my Alocasias, my Alocasia Jacqueline, which I think is already a pretty tough Alocasia to grow, literally has all its leaves pretty much dying, and I don't know if it's just trying to acclimate. So leave it in the comments. I am hopeful to grow a lot of my plants in leca and pon. You know, the lechuza pon is really interesting. Hopefully it works out for me. I will definitely give you guys updates, and really I'm waiting for some of my plants to really perk up before I do a houseplant tour. We've talked about perfection is really impossible, but I still want to present a pretty cool plant collection for everybody. I want to film it during the morning though, just because I feel like my morning light is, you know, natural light is really the most optimal version. My plant room has really gotten together. I have a couch there, and actually I do a lot of my voiceover sitting and just enjoying my little plant sanctuary. So stay tuned for that. Leave it in the comments if you really do want to see a houseplant video. I will get more inspired just the more comments I have. I just really want to see if there is a demand for that. But as you can see here, plant foldies, there is a demand for a lot of these rare and uncommon plants. Like you can see here, anthurium. So anthuriums, that is another plant that I just recently got into, and it's because I've been able to jump the fear, or more so the hurdle of feeling like an anthurium is a challenging plant. You know, you read online, you see people having to have full-on like cabinets and humidifiers to grow them, but I actually ended up getting my anthuriums overseas from Green Spaces ID. And Green Spaces ID, if you ever want to import some plants that maybe are a little bit more challenging to get in the United States, or even in Canada, they ship pretty much worldwide. Check them out because they ended up getting me some anthuriums, and ever since I put my anthurium in leca and pon, they have been doing so well. I haven't gotten any spider mites. They've actually pushed out a new leaf. They have beautiful textures, and I am an anthurium fan. I will try to purchase some more anthuriums from another local nursery out in New Braunfels, Texas, called Wild Roots Nursery. They have some really cool anthurium hybrids. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, Green Acres has a bunch of rare plants like this Philodendron variegated burley marks, for instance. This is one of those plants that were super expensive. I would caution in the fact that this plant could easily revert. Its variegation is definitely not stable. My suggestion is, if you are going to grow plants that don't have variegated stability or variegation stability, make sure that you are chopping off any signs of green growth, like just multiple green growth, and taking it back to the last variegated leaf. You may be able to push that variegation back out. That's not always the case. Philodendron orange marmalade, that is another beautiful philodendron that I like. It can get massive sizes, and the thing about it is, any neon colored plant, any plant that has a lot of neon colors, neon green, yellow, you have to provide it with quite a bit of light in order for it to really maintain its yellow or neon variegation. And that's really the only drawback as far as neon colored plants. Otherwise, I absolutely love them. I need them in my life. We need them for everybody to actually enjoy, because it's just such a cool looking color. And then you can see right here, this is a Philodendron Bernardopaziae. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a plant that is uncommon. I think this is like $58, and this is an uncommon philodendron. It does have those narrow leaves, but as it matured, those narrow leaves even become more narrow and massive. And even though it is a green philodendron, notice that the price tag is still a little bit higher than most philodendron, and that's because it is an uncommon philodendron. Now, this is a Monstera Thai constellation. This one has some really good variegation. So here's the thing about Monstera Thai constellations. That one is $115. You can find them at a lot of big box stores. So if you're going to look for a Monstera Thai constellation, I know Costa Farms has brought out some Monstera Thai constellation. Wild Interiors has also done it as well. I happen to find Monstera Thai constellations at Walmart for the first time a little while back, and it really just depends. Now for me, Monstera Thai constellations are really judged on maybe the variegation and the price point, because you can find Monstera Thai constellations for as low as $22. or you can still find them for the prices that they used to sell for more than $100. So it just depends. But if you do want a monstera Thai constellation that has good fenestrations already, Green Acres Nursery and Supply definitely has it. Same thing with the Philodendron Hederaceum Cream Splash. So Philodendron Hederaceums, they have so many different variations or mutations of that. The most common one would be the Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. They have a Philodendron Hederaceum Rio. They have a Philodendron Hederaceum Cream Splash. That's pretty cool, and I actually want to get one of those. I just like collecting those fast growing plants. Now if you compare that fast growing, you can also talk about a Syngonium Panda Galaxy. And I remember plant folies, I bought a 2-leaf rooted plant of a Syngonium Panda Galaxy, and I ended up paying more than $150 for it on eBay. And 4 years later, you can buy it for a little bit less expensive. And that's the thing about Syngoniums. I remember seeing a bunch of rare Syngoniums from a plant seller called Kosh out in PlantCon 2024. Fabulous seller. I loved all her collection. She had so many new varieties in Syngoniums, but I really had to practice a little bit more restraint in purchasing those plants, because I just feel like Syngoniums are very easy to propagate, so you just have to wait on it. An example would be, I bought a Syngonium Orm Thong from Ivy Plant. Love Veronica of Ivy Plant, for $30, and it was already a really large Syngonium Orm Thong. I know that a smaller one about 1.5 years ago was costing $100, and I was able to get one that was for $30. So again, plant foldies, it is all about that patience, how long you're willing to wait for a plant price to go down. Even see with these Philodendron Florida Beauties, I will say a lot of the plants, these uncommon rare plants, are more readily available because they're basically tissue cultured plants. So they're not necessarily propagating from cuttings from an actual plant. It's actually tissue cultured. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on tissue cultured plants. I feel like if they feed the demand that the consumer, our plant lovers, need, then I think I'm all for it. The only thing is, I have heard that tissue culture plants are not nearly as resilient or healthy as their counterparts where they're non-tissue cultured. Now, that is not fact, so please fact check me if that is not necessarily the case. I've just read that a lot online, and that's the thing too, plant foldies, is certain information you get online, especially about plants, may not always be the case. And honestly, sometimes there are exceptions to the rule. So whenever I give up plant care tips or even my suggestions, please make sure to lean into a little bit of your experience. Use it as a guide, but don't use it as a rule of thumb, if that makes any sense. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we do have even more Hoyas. These are $35. And unfortunately for Hoyas, I am just not as versed in actually knowing all of the Hoya varieties. Hoyas have captured my heart. I do like Hoyas because they are easy to take care of, and they're easy to propagate as well from cuttings. I do have some Hoya Lisas that I am going to put in pond just to see what that looks like in a semi-hydroponic situation. So we'll figure out what that looks like, and I will definitely keep you posted. But this one has some beautiful variegation, and I like the leaf shape of it. That looks like a Hoya carnosa, but it's definitely not. It's similar to it, and you can see that they have more rare and uncommon Hoyas right over here. For those that are Hoya heads, or that's what they're called, people who are really into Hoyas, let me know what your favorite Hoyas are in the comments. I want to see my Hoyas eventually bloom. They have not yet, but I haven't sent any Hoyas to Plant Heaven, which I'm super excited about because I do have quite a bit of Hoyas available now in my personal plant collection. And you can see here again, Epipremnum pinnatum marble. Like, this is just an amazing looking plant, and for only $200, knowing that this is already on a totem pole growing with several plants. Awesome, beautiful, rare and uncommon plant. Philodendron Jose Buono. Now that one is another philodendron I have yet to see in a big box store, but it has become readily available at a lot of local plant nurseries. So that is always a plus. Look at those roots too. Look, those aerial roots. You can literally chop this up and make multiple Jose Buonos. I was able to get a starter one for I think $12.50. from the hives plants. So you know, that's the thing. Sometimes I will buy a starter plant and grow it up, because I know that, for instance, Jose Buono, it's not a slow growing philodendron, so I could get it to size up pretty quickly, and I don't mind waiting for that. There's just certain plants, like for instance Aglaonema, super slow growing plant. Sometimes I just want a nice large Aglaonema because I just want one, and it actually takes a little bit longer for them to get to that size. So you know, as far as the rare greenhouse area for Green Acres Nursery and Supply, they have quite a bit of plants. You do have to ask somebody to let you in to take a look at that. But you can see here again this Epipremnum pinnatum marble, gorgeous plant. And then we're gonna go look at the anthuriums here. I didn't want to bug Tanya to open this up, so I'm just gonna pan over and show you some of these anthuriums. Now, anthuriums are all the rage. I just never paid attention to them, but I could totally understand how they could be all the rage, because their leaves are very much so beautiful in a sense that they have a unique like shape about them, the veining of the leaves, and just the textures, whether it's kind of like satin finish or velvety texture. I haven't had any issues with my anthuriums. I would say as a rule of thumb, or just something to guide you, you do want to try to get it more humidity if possible. So my plant room does have a humidifier. It stays within the 55 to 60 range for humidities. Ideally, I want to keep it around the 60-65, but I also don't want to mess up my wooden floors, and I don't want to encourage mildew. That is the plight of growing plants indoors. You also can't just humidify your home to the point where it's a tropical jungle. Otherwise, you start running into, you know, floors warping and mildew. But as far as humidity, higher humidity will help a lot of your plants, especially anthuriums. You can see right here too, Philodendron Black Majesty in a hanging basket, beautiful plant. I actually got one from Peta's Planters, which is another local plant shop that I recommend people to shop at. Small plant shop, but they pack a huge impact when it comes to the selection of plants. I would even say they could go head to head with even a big box store, or even a big you know, nursery like this, where they have a little bit more surface space. But let's just talk about how gorgeous that leaf is for a Philodendron Black Majesty. Dark foliage plants are awesome, and that's the reason why, if you do have like a Philodendron Pink Princess that is more of like a burgundy tone but doesn't necessarily have the pink, I still think grow it, because it is a beautiful plant regardless. You know, there is always this huge trend to want to just always run to a variegated plant, but sometimes the non-variegated plants have a certain simplicity, certain elegance about them, where there's not a lot of things going on, but you can really like enjoy the structure of the plant, the leaf shape, or just the growth. You know, sometimes the vigorous growth of a plant is really what attracts me. It's not always necessarily the plant itself. For example, pothos plants. I love Epipremnum aureum. Everybody says it is a basic plant. It is a common plant, cheap plant, whatever you want to call it. But Epipremnum aureum, it's easy to take care of unless you really don't water it. And then it's also easy to propagate. Now over here, we do have a bunch of Phalaenopsis orchids, and I have one Phalaenopsis orchid in my collection, and you'll see it in this video. It is a variegated Phalaenopsis orchid. Notice how it does have a lot of its roots popping out. With orchids, never ever plant it in potting soil. You always need to put it in orchid bark, because these roots will rot out very easily. You'll know that you have to water your roots when the roots are more of like a silvery white tone versus it being green, because when you water a Phalaenopsis orchid, as soon as you water it, the roots will turn like a light green tone. That means it is hydrated. I would say, on a caution, I wouldn't overwater a Phalaenopsis orchid, or just an orchid in general, but this is the variegated orchid. This is one of the times where variegation on a plant is actually sought after, at least for me, because when the blooms are gone, there's still a leaf interest about it, to where I can still enjoy it. It almost reminds me of, like, I don't know, it sounds crazy, but like a Sansevieria plant or a snake plant, because of the variegation. Orchids do like bright indirect light. They can tolerate lower light conditions, but if you really want to get the blooms to come out, obviously you want to give it a lot more light. When it is not in bloom is the best time to repot the plant, just because you don't want to shock the plant while it's in bloom. Otherwise it may actually drop its blooms. Now, as far as Philodendron orchids, blooms typically last for about a month, maybe longer, and they do like more acidic soil, to be honest. I would say water or fertilize them, which is an all-purpose orchid fertilizer. As far as orchids or Philodendron orchids, they are considered epiphytes, so they really attach themselves on trees. In the Philippines, they grow rampant, they grow wild, they're just all over. And it's just interesting that over in the western part of the world, which I would assume most of my viewers and subscribers are from, we put so much effort into trying to assimilate these plants into our natural habitats, where you want to like get grow lights, you want to get moss poles, you want to like get chunky aroid mix, versus like a Southeast Asian country where literally these plants are growing on the side of the road in full sun, hot humidity, and bam, they're just growing. But you know, that's the interesting part about plants. So whenever you talk about plants being house plants, there is no such thing as a house plant foldies. They are plants that we have sourced at some point from another part of the world. And plant care, I say this in all of my videos, and I will continue to say this, plant care is really how close can you emulate the environment of the actual plant from its natural habitat. So when you talk about, water when the soil is completely dry, that's probably because the environment or the rain pattern kind of sets that tone for the plant. Higher humidity means maybe that plant came from a higher humidity environment. Bright indirect light, maybe that plant was actually a understory type plant where it was growing under trees where it got filtered light. So that's just an interesting part about plant care. And then this Taka Chantrieri, I think that's what you call it, actually has blooms that are dark black that almost look like bats. So that's why they call this the bat plant. I've never heard of it until I actually Googled it, and I thought it was really cool to see the blooms of that plant. So there's always a discovery when I go to a local plant nursery or whenever I just go plant shopping. Plant foldies, let me know in the comments if you've ever just gone into a nursery and if you've never seen a certain plant, what plants they are. And if you made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you. Please make sure you are hitting that like button. I know that I ask you guys often, but when I say it does really help with the engagement, if you really like this content, definitely support me that way. I would love you forever for that. And then you can see right over here, gorgeous looking Dracaena warneckii. This one is a larger form. So you can see that those Dracaenas that you see at a big box store that are being sold as like exotic angel Costa Farms plants, when it matures, it can get to this size right here. Notice that the actual trunk becomes a little bit more caney. That is one of the natural habits of why that particular Dracaena grows that way. And then you can see we've got a bunch of hanging baskets of different types of ferns. My grandmother says that ferns are easy to take care of. I don't necessarily agree with her because they do require a little bit more humidity, but for some reason she's able to propagate them. She says she divides them when she propagates them. And for those that haven't seen my grandmother's video, she's actually the source of my inspiration, the reason why I'm into plants. Definitely check that out. It is a big box store plant shopping video at Home Depot, and it also has a picture of her in the thumbnail. So I hope you guys might be able to check it out. I do an interview for her. And then over here, Green Acres has a bunch of large plants. Like look at this Dracaena right here. And again with Dracaenas, very underrated plant. It's a plant that a lot of people don't really look to collect. I think it's more of those like plants that people use for offices or more of a corporate setting, but I think that Dracaenas are just as beautiful as some of the more rare, uncommon philodendrons or aroids that we like to add into our plant collections. But as you can see, plant foldies, what a gorgeous looking place as far as just where we are in terms of the Green Acres plant shop. Here you can see that there are a ton of Philodendron orchids, and I'm just going to pan over here and just show you all of the gorgeous flowering plants that they have here. Take a look at these gorgeous jewel orchids for $27.50. I love the look of jewel orchids. You can see that they have that nice faint veining that it has over here. Obviously, being a dark foliage plant, that is another reason why I want to get one of these plants to add into my collection. I currently have one that I ended up buying at Peter's Planters, but as you can see right over here, Green Acres Nursery and Supply have just a variety of plants that you can choose from, jewel orchids. I know that the Melissa, Texas location further up north has them in smaller sizes, so if you don't want the 4-inch ones, you can get the ones in smaller sizes. But I do love jewel orchids. They do require a little bit more humidity, so I would always suggest, if possible, that you add near, like a humidifier or someplace where they can get some humidity. They definitely enjoy that. And then you can see right here, plant foldies, more ficus lyrata, and then tons of blooming anthuriums. So when you think of anthuriums, this is probably one that you will find as the most common one. People will grow them for their blooms. I do love the actual leaf shape. This one has more of a waxy look as compared to all the other anthuriums that I have recently started to get into. Again, growing anthuriums in semi-hydroponics actually works well for me. Now, these plants right here are pretty easy to grow. Like, you can grow them for $13.50, so they've got an assorted arrangement of different types of bloom colors. I currently have one growing in straight hydroponics, so it's literally sitting in water with some plant nutrients. And if you're gonna ask me the plant nutrients I use, I am so thankful that Tanya at Green Acres Nursery and Supply was able to give me her tips on the plant nutrients she uses. So I use the Fox Farm liquid nutrients. There's one that is called Grow Big liquid plant food that I add into my water, and then I also add the Tiger Bloom Buds and Blooms fertilizer. Those are the two, and what I do with it is I take a gallon, and rather than putting a full tablespoon of each one per gallon, I just do a half tablespoon. So I just feed a lower strength, just because in hydroponics you just want to be a little bit careful about how much fertilizer or plant nutrient you put into your actual water, but it has worked really well for me. And then over here, Mandula pothos for $20. So Epipremnum aureum Mandula pothos. I am definitely going to be looking for these from Costa Farms, just because I remember there were some for like $7.50. I want to go ahead and add like a legitimate Mandula pothos into my plant collection. I do have one growing at work, but as far as like my personal plant collection, you can never have enough Mandula pothos. I feel like their variegation is very much sporadic in a sense. I do love that it has more of a rounder shaped leaf, and who knows, you might actually find some really interesting mutations. Talking to May from D&M Secret Garden out at PlantCon 2024, she was the plant vendor that was featuring Japanese pothos. Just knowing that pothos actually come from a lot of these mutations, so they'll take like a certain vine that may have a certain characteristic, whether it's like a narrower form of the leaf, a different type of variegation, and propagate it and see if that actual variegation continues. So I definitely want to try that with some of my Epipremnum aureum or pothos plants. Now, Mandula pothos is another plant that can get very large round shaped leaves. So if you actually grow them in a moss pole or a totem pole, that would be the very best situation in terms of that. Just getting them to grow into their natural habit in nature. Definitely love pothos plants. Let me know in the comments, plant foldies, if you enjoy pothos, if you grow pothos, how many varieties of pothos do you have? I am really trying to collect as many, and now with my plant room that I have set up, I'm actually doing the voiceover in my plant room. I see my humidifiers. I'm actually going down to my plants. It's just a really serene environment. It's currently 72 degrees in humidity, and my plants are loving it. But I'm also loving the fact that I can feature all of these local plant videos, these local plant nursery videos. I know that I did a lot of PlantCon videos, but I will be back at it. I will spend my day off Tuesday going all over the DFW market and trying to find some more big box stores. So I'll probably be going to like Lowe's, Home Depot, and then I will also visit Green Acres again in Melissa. I was just told that they got some more plant restock. So you already know, I just want to make sure that everybody who watches my channel can get some daily plant content. You can see right here, Philodendron Pink Princess. And as you can see, this one has some pink variegation. So there is really a wide range of variegation when it comes to Pink Princess. I just remember years back, 4 years ago, this was a very expensive plant, even for one that wasn't as highly variegated. Geonanthus plant. Beautiful plant. I don't know a lot about it, but what I do know is the dark foliage is super exciting, and I just love that it has like a faint purple tone about it. Dark foliage plants, when you actually put it in an arrangement, if you put it right next to a plant that's like a neon colored plant or even a pink plant, it really pops it up. I currently have a lot of dark foliage plants. I just think that they have a certain elegance about them. But the geo plant, I've been told that it's actually a more finicky plant, but I don't know exactly what the care tips are for it. So for those that have grown a geo plant or a Geonanthus plant, please leave in the comments what your thoughts are. Now, obviously with Philodendron Pink Princess or Philodendron Urubescens Pink Princess, all of those plants that are Philodendron Urubescens will need a pole, a moss pole, a totem pole to really get the leaves to size up. That's what I would suggest. Now, some people will try to grow them as like a trailing plant. It's just not gonna give you the best leaves, the best variegation. So I would just suggest making sure that you are giving it a pole or something to attach on. More bright indirect light is best for it, not only for its coloration, even though I believe that its coloration is really influenced by the amount of genetics, pink variegation it has already. Same thing with the Philodendron White Princess. And Philodendron White Princess, what I do like is sometimes you will get those faint pink variegation on it. I have one that is growing up a pole. It is really getting some nice sized leaves. I'm almost tempted to chop it up and prop, but I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, plant foldies, where you've gotten a really nice growth on a plant, and then all of a sudden you're tempted to chop it up. I know, like with my Monstera albo, for instance, that I got from Fitzgerald Tropicals, I can get a good 4 cuttings out of it, but then I would have to start over. So I'm actually just trying to get it to a nice mature size. So plant foldies, I do want your insights on that, on whether you grow a plant for its mature full size, or do you just keep chopping and propping and multiplying? I really want to know. And then plant foldies, as far as the bromeliads. So bromeliads, again, are plants that you can find at a big box store like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. But even though it's a common plant you find, the more I look into the different varieties of bromeliads, the more I am a fan of them. Now, here's the thing about bromeliads. This one is for $27.50. I love the pink varieties. Bromeliads, these types of bromeliads need to be lower into your plant display, meaning if you're going to put them on a shelf, you want to at least make it to where it is below eye level, so you can look down and look at the foliage, because obviously that's where you want to see. It's not a tall plant, but like this one right here, fabulous plant. I do need to add more bromeliads to my plant collection, especially this one right here. Look at that striping, look at that pink. The pink looks like somebody has literally spray painted some pink spray paint or red spray paint. And that's the thing about these bromeliads. The more you dig into the different varieties, the more impressed you will be with those plants. And what I like about Green Acres Nursery and Plant Supply is the fact that they have all these different tables. So now we're going to be looking at the Philodendron table. I don't want to mislabel these plants. This one is for $27.50. So I'm just going to say Philodendron. I don't know if this is a Philodendron plomanii or a Philodendron soderoi. So for those that are experts on Philodendron identification, leave it in the comments. Let me know if this is a particular Philodendron and what it is, because it does have some gorgeous silver tones about it. And then over here, we have more of a velvety one for $27.50. So it is labeled as a assorted. I don't know if it's a Philodendron splendid or if it's a Philodendron verrucosum. I think it's a splendid, not 100% sure. So again, plant foldies, you'll just have to let me know in the comments if you know specifically the plant ID. Now with these more velvety textured Philodendron, you do want to give it a little bit more humidity. And the reason why you want to do that is because they tend to be a little bit more prone to spider mites. Most velvety textured plants, I've realized, actually are more prone to spider mites. And the thing to do to actually repel spider mites, before I start talking about spider mite prevention, take a look at this Philodendron. I don't know if this is a variegated one. Let me know. What do you guys think? Is this variegated or is it just what it's supposed to look like? It looks almost like variegated to me, maybe a sport variegation. But to go back to spider mite prevention, obviously spraying your plants with like a preventative neem oil spray helps, but increasing the humidity in your plant space will repel spider mites because they do not like humidity. They like a really dry environment. So if you have a dry environment, your plant is more susceptible to spider mites. Now the thing is, if you have higher humidity, the one thing that will also attract pests are called fungus gnats. So fungus gnats like moisture on the tops of the soil. So there's really a balance on what you want to do. For me, in order to prevent pest, and you will always get pests no matter how much pest preventative you do, always inspect the plants that you buy at a store, whether it is a big box or especially a big box store. But even at a local plant nursery, you want to make sure that you're checking the undersides of the leaves, the tops of the leaves, in between the nodes, the soil surface, the bottom of the drainage hole. If you see any webbing, that means it's a spider mite and you probably don't want to pick up that plant. Or if you feel like see little fuzzy balls, that is probably mealybugs. It's worth noting that if you take a plant and say I bought a plant from Green Acres today, for instance, I would spray it with my neem oil spray. So basically the recipe for me is a conventional spray bottle, 2 tablespoons of cold pressed neem oil, which you can buy on Amazon, 2 tablespoons of rubbing alcohol, 70% strength or even 91% strength, 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide, fill it up with water, drop a drop of dishwashing soap, and then shake it up, spray it on your plants. And not only will it make your plants shiny and vibrant, but it will also kill all of these plants instantly, and you're not having to use really strong pesticides. So that's my routine around, plant preventative pest control, as well as just what I do when I bring plants home. Some people will quarantine their plants. I haven't been the best at quarantining my plants just because I do a thorough spray, and whenever I water my plants, I always spray them down with neem oil. So they're literally sprayed down with neem oil at least once a week. And this year, since I started collecting plants again, I haven't had any major plant pests. I might see like a fungus gnat or 2 flying around, but I also use this plugin called Zevo, which you can buy at a big box store like Target or Walmart. And basically you plug it in, it does have a blue light, but it will literally attract all of the fungus gnats, and you can pretty much get rid of them within like 72 hours, as long as that area is in a dark room and the only thing they see is that blue light. They will all just gather to it. But going back to the plants, and I do apologize if I have been rambling a lot today. I'm just really excited to just kind of share my thoughts. On Tuesdays is when I have my days off, and I get a lot of time to think. I get a lot of time to work on this channel. And so I've been spending a lot of time just kind of giving you my own plant musings. But you can see here Philodendron brantianum on a trellis. Love that. Philodendron brantianum has that silver foliage. They do like a little bit more humidity. So again, higher humidity within the 60% range would really benefit for them. And then Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos, beautiful plant. Again, that one is going to need a lot of light in order for it to really maintain that variegation. I did show earlier in the video all of the different varieties of pothos plants or Epipremnum aureum that Green Acres has. And that's the thing about Green Acres. You can pick a family genus of plants and you can be able to collect all of them. And that is a double-edged sword, because you can go to this table and there's a bunch of philodendron. There's a bunch of pothos plants. Like this one here is an Epipremnum panatum skeleton keys. And while it looks like just a regular panatum, when it grows up a totem pole, the leaves get larger and they almost look like an Alocasia stingray. It's super cool. And then you can see here they have totem plants. So these are plants that that really need to be growing up a pole. Like this one right here is a Scindapsus exotica totem for $27.50. So if you want more of a vertical type of plant to display to get some more height somewhere, you want to grow plants upward toward a totem pole or moss pole. Love the silvery foliage on Scindapsus exotica. And the thing about Scindapsus plants is they are very similar to pothos plants. The thing about it is they are a little bit slower growing as compared to an Epipremnum aureum or a pothos plant. They do let you know when they're thirsty because their leaves start to curl. And then I love Monstera celtipicana. Now this one right here will get larger leaves as it goes up a totem. Most Monstera will need that. I don't know if it'll actually fenestrate really large like Epipremnum pinnatum or something like that, but I have been growing mine in a Costa Farms Exotic Angels hanging basket. I found it at Lowe's for $19.84, and it does well as a hanging plant as well. The leaves don't necessarily get smaller. It's actually got a pretty vigorous growth and it's easy to propagate. Same thing with Philodendron micans. And here's the thing. This is a question for Costa Farms. I'm just curious why Costa Farms has never really released Philodendron micans in hanging baskets, because that is a gorgeous looking dark foliage velvety plant that is easy to take care of, easy plant care, and it's really cost effective these days. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the Philodendron micans. It's one that I think you can never have enough of. There are certain plants that are in my plant collection that I have multiples of, and Philodendron micans would be one of them. I'm also guilty to talk about having multiple Monstera constellations. Now that they've been more readily available, I just start collecting them. Now over here is a Philodendron Birkins. This one is a beautiful plant as well, and you can see that they have a variety of different types of Philodendron. Notice that this is a Philodendron painted lady, and I've seen a lot of Philodendron painted ladies available. Here's the thing I noticed about Philodendron painted lady. They are light seekers. They need a lot of bright indirect light. The moment they start to not get light, the moment that they are not getting enough light, they are definitely going to start becoming more greenish in tone versus yellow. So it's actually good to what you call sun stress them, and I don't mean by putting them in direct full sun. What I mean is putting them under a grow light and literally getting more light than they necessarily need, because it will give you that yellow tone. Sometimes it'll even give you that bleached look, but as long as you're not doing too much, you're gonna get that yellow coloration that painted lady has. I love that plant. I have currently 2 of them, and one is growing under a grow light. That's the only way I can really maintain that yellow variegation. Philodendron tortum, $20, beautiful plant. That is another plant that, while it does have more like, I don't know, its leaf structure is very dainty. It is a very hardy philodendron. And then over here we have a Philodendron Paraíso Verde. Now Paraíso Verde, the variegation is not always necessarily influenced by the amount of light it gets. It actually needs more heat. So in colder climates or colder conditions, it's not going to push out that bright variegation. So if you're able to increase the heat, it is going to love it. I love that as well. And you can see over here, plant folies, we've got Philodendron Ring of Fire. I would call that the common variegated philodendron now, alongside with the Philodendron Pink Princess. I think those two have really crossed the realm of just a common house plant now that they are so readily available at big box stores, and a local plant nursery like this really like the look of that. And you can just see there's just so many different varieties of plants. It is one that I definitely enjoy, and all of these philodendrons, like right over there, they got a Philodendron Jungle Boogie straight ahead, that's serrated philodendron. They've got hanging baskets, and they also have a peace lily, a Spathiphyllum peace lily. Now, a Spathiphyllum, I have been told, are easy to actually just grow in straight water. Honestly, I would probably grow a peace lily in straight water just because it is a very thirsty plant. So the 3 plants I bought from Steve's Leaves out in PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, the Irsine Rose, the stainless steel plant, and what was the other plant? And then the Dracaena. They're all very thirsty plants, so I literally have to water them every other day, and that's a problem, plant foldies. I know that I'm in underwater. I have been doing very well though about just being able to water my plants, just because I discovered the secret of just using a handheld shower head. So what I'll do is actually take all of my plants I need to water, put them in my my rainforest shower, and I just take the head and just spray them down. It's just like watering plants outside with a hose, but I'm able to do multiple plants at once. I do suggest watering plants, like actually spraying them down with a shower head, or even taking them outside under like a patio and using a garden hose to spray them down. That way you can actually clean your leaves off. The thing about it is plants will accumulate dust, and when there's just a lot of dust on the plant, it doesn't actually get the light it needs to photosynthesize and feed it. So that's one way I've been able to keep my leaves clean. And then when you start to put spray it with neem oil, it gives it a natural shine that I love. So it's got a glossy finish about it. Here's an Epipremnum aureum that has some really high variegation. This is considered the golden pothos, but you know that this has more interesting speckling. Like honestly, now that I've talked to May at D&M Secret Garden, definitely follow her on Instagram about the Japanese pothos. That's really how the Teruno Japanese pothos series started, is they will find interesting variegations. Like this one right here has more of a speckling variegation for a golden pothos. I would literally chop that up and actually propagate it, put it in a pretty good lighting situation, and see if it'll continue to push out that type of variegation. I do find that interesting. That is another plant that I want to play with. I want to start just propagating more easy to propagate plants like pothos plants and Scindapsus. Now, I honestly don't have a legitimate Scindapsus exotica. This one is for $22.50, and look at how beautiful that metallic shine is on that. I definitely need that. I probably will invest in buying one that's growing up a totem, because again, plant foldies, when you grow a plant up a totem, it tends to just get better, better coloration, better leaves in terms of the size, and that's just really how they want to grow. And I've mentioned that multiple times in this video, but that's the thing I would also leave everybody with, is the fact that if you want to grow a plant, give the plant its natural habitat, or as close to its natural habitat. Let it grow the way it wants to grow. So like for instance, that Epipremnum pinnatum right there, or what they call the dragon's tail, you want to grow it up a pole, a plank, something for its leaves to attach. Same thing with an Epipremnum aureum enjoy pothos. That one is another pothos I love, because it does have that high variegation in terms of the contrast between green and then the white. And the thing about it is, even if you don't provide the enjoy pothos nearly as much light, it will still maintain a lot of its variegation as compared to maybe a marble queen pothos, or even the neon pothos right here. Like I love neon pothos. That is another plant that I don't mind having multiples of, because it is just a gorgeous plant. The more light you provide it, the more intense yellow and neon green that plant is going to be. Less light, it's going to be a little bit of a lighter green. It's not going to be that neon color. So again, lighting can also factor into your plants. And for those that are beginners and have actually just found my YouTube channel, you'll hear me talk a lot about lighting conditions, care conditions, and hopefully I'm providing some content that is going to be a little bit more value added for your plants. But as far as shopping at Green Acres, that is a good place to go if you're a local plant foldie or somebody that lives out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, if you are just visiting Dallas for a weekend or going on vacation and you want to go to a nursery that has pretty much everything, I would go here. And if you're going to fly away to another state, you can actually take plants onto your hand carry. Now double check, but I know that I was trying to go to Miami to go to the International Aeroid Show. Unfortunately, plant foldies, I'm just not going to be able to make it. With work, I have to work this weekend, and it's just really tough to get that time off. I will 150% be at the Texas Aeroid Show, October 26th in Houston, Texas. So I will have hours and hours of videos just like PlantCon. And there is a plant swap happening at North Haven Gardens, I think at the end of this month, which I will also document and maybe get some more of the plant vendors on there. But Going back to this is another philodendron. That one is a jungle boogie, and it looks like it's about to be in bloom. And then over here we have a Syndapsis trubii moonlight. This is another common, like, trending tropicals plant by Costa Farms that you can find at any big box store. And it's always interesting to compare and talk about the plants that you could see at a big box store. Costa Farms has done a really good job making those accessible, but local plant nurseries will definitely have them. And then you can see right over here, plant foldies, more pothos plants, another Philodendron Bellitiae. We got a Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue pothos in a hanging basket, and just more hanging baskets right over here. Those are within the $27.50 range. So again, it's very cost effective to shop at Green Acres, especially if you're looking for a plant that you don't typically see in hanging baskets. For instance, that like philodendron, that dark foliage philodendron. Then you can see over here, we've got even more philodendron. We've got some Tomathophyllum at the bottom, or what you call Salum. And then if I pan around over here, you can see that they've got some Dracaenas, Diphambachias, and Aglaonemas all on that table. You can see that they have the Fox Farm fertilizers that I mentioned. The one with the red tomato on it is what I use as my hydroponic nutrient solution, and it has done very well for me. And then you can see over here, there is another table just full of Monstera deliciosas and different types of Monsteras. So love the fact that Green Acres Nursery and Supply really does keep their plants organized by like the family and genus, and even their plant products. Everything is just neat and organized, which makes it easier for you to shop. In retail, I've been told that if something is organized and shoppable, you're more inclined to purchase more, or you're going to be more inspired to purchase more. So I don't know if that's really a good thing for us consumers, but you know, it is what it is. And you can see right over here, Tanya is about to go ahead and get more plants to restock. So these are starter plants, and you can see that's a bunch of polka dot plants. We've got some Crusala, and then we've got some Tradescantia Nanook. My favorite Tradescantia, just because look at that pink and purple foliage. Love that. And obviously that jade plant looks amazing as well. But plant foldies, let me know in the comment section what you think of all the plants so far. Would you actually visit Green Acres? And if you have been able to go to Green Acres, which location do you actually go to? I'm hoping that you guys shop at both. Like this one right here, $9.75, beautiful plant. I have this, easy to propagate. It's easy to multiply, fun to share. And that's the thing, again, plant foldies. If you're trying to save money on plants, or just get your finances right for a plant collection, ways to do so would be to purchase smaller plants like this. That was another type of Iracine, I think, plant, but look at that right here. This one is not the red version, and these starter plants are usually $3.50. You can actually grow these to larger sizes fairly quickly. So if you go to a local nursery, you can find starter plants. You can see right over here, this is a variegated Swedish ivy, and I love this because it is a fast grower. It's an easy plant to grow. You can grow these outdoors or indoors. This isn't a plant that you would actually run to and think that it would be an indoor house plant, but you can grow it as an indoor plant, as well as this Polea. So this is $4.50. And the thing is, even though it's a small baby Polea, this will grow pretty fast, and then you can just keep propagating multiple babies. It likes to shoot little pups, or that's what you call little pups, and you can separate them from the mother plant. But as you can see here, they've got even more starter plants. I love it. Love, love, love Green Acres Nursery and Supply. So that's another way to start your plant collection, is just starting with little small starter plants. Like this one right here is another type of Aurelia. This is a gold crest Aurelia starter plant. I just got one for $4 though, at Home Depot. But if you're looking to save money, that is another way to do so, is just getting the 2-inch starter plants. Now they do have more of the rare or niche philodendron, so these are going to cost a little bit more. But you can see here, this is a Dracaena Sandriana, and I am a little bit hesitant on the Dracaena Sandriana just because for a Dracaena, it's actually quite thirsty. It's a plant that you have to give it a little bit more water, and I'm really trying to minimize the amount of plants that are thirsty because I don't want to kill them. And then this one right here is a philodendron. I think this is a small narrow escape philodendron. This one is for $20, so it's a little bit pricey, but You know, sometimes if you just want a small plant, because say you have a small space, maybe you have an apartment, maybe you don't have a full-blown like plant room you can dedicate plants, sometimes the smaller sizes will work for you. It's a little bit more manageable. Like this one right here, gorgeous yellow philodendron. And you know, for Green Acres, I heard that they were actually going to, and this isn't like fully confirmed yet, that they're also going to keep opening up more locations throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I would love that, because then it'll give me more time to, more places to actually film plant content for y'all. And again, Plant Foldies, when it comes to all of the different types of plant shops, local plant nurseries, what makes me have so much fun creating this daily content of plants for you is the fact that I can meet more people. So Plant Foldies, I hope you've enjoyed this content today for Green Acres out in Irving, Texas. This is part 1 of 2, so I will have another part to this later. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps a lot. Check out this beautiful desert rose, variegated desert rose. And as always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Growfolds. This is Richie. I'll see you soon. Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today we'll be local nursery plant shopping at Green Acres Nursery and Supply in Irving, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting that like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Growfolds. If you like daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel with the notification bell on. As you can see right over here, I just picked up a Rex begonia, and this is a continuation of my Green Acres Nursery and Supply tour. This is part 2 of the Irving, Texas location. Like I said in my previous video, that I haven't been able to visit this location for quite some time. There are 2 locations of Green Acres Nursery and Supply in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is where I am based at, and you can see that I am now at the begonia table. This is a beautiful dark foliage angel wing begonia, and as I've talked about in my previous videos, angel wing begonias are a little bit easier for me to personally take care of. Now, my grandmother, she can propagate angel wing begonias as if they were just literally weeds that you can find in your garden. She multiplies them very easily. Begonias are a little bit more of a challenging plant for me personally. So for those that are new to my channel, Plant Foldies, I call my viewers and subscribers Plant Foldies. Let me know if you actually grow begonias, and it's interesting that they have the maranthas or the prayer plants also mixed in with the begonias. What I do like about Green Acres Nursery and Supply is that the fact that they have their plants really organized. I love the merchandising of the plants. The plant pricing is super cost effective. So if you want to find a specific plant, they will most likely have it. Their staff is super friendly as well. And so when I actually filmed this video, I was really happy that I was able to talk to Tanya. Tanya's actually the lady that takes care of all of the buying for the indoor tropical plants. She takes care of this particular greenhouse, and I was really happy to be able to talk to her for quite some time. You can see over here for $20 though, we have a variegated marantha, beautiful looking marantha. I actually have one growing in pond. So I was actually growing that in full hydroponics, where it was literally sitting in water, but then I converted it to pond. I just feel like semi-hydroponic growing conditions for certain plants like calatheas, maranthas, Alocasia specifically work better for me, just because then I don't have to worry so much about the watering. It takes the guessing work out of it. And then as you can see over here, Plant Foldies, we've got several hanging baskets of plants. You can see that on the very right-hand corner was a gray plant that is called an Especia, or an African violet. Not African violet, it's a flame violet plant. Really like that as well. And look at that Calathea orbifolia, beautiful plant. And then we have some Stramanthe triostar. Now this Calathea right over here is one of the biggest heartbreakers. I believe this is a Calathea of some type of Rospicta. I don't know all of my Calathea varieties that well, but it is a beautiful Calathea. I like that it has large round foliage. And then this is a Stramanthe triostar. Now, I actually got one at a big box store called Target, and I was really surprised because Live Trends was actually selling one. I believe I got it for $20. But what I do like about this plant is it's not as finicky as a calathea. It's not as big of a diva as a calathea. It's such a beautiful plant because obviously there's so many colors going around it. Not only the tops of the leaves, but the bottoms of the leaves have that beautiful marine, like that maroon foliage. So I like that a lot. Now, I forgot what this particular Calathea's plant ID is. This one is for $9.75. Look at the dark foliage underneath, as well as that beautiful green and dark green foliage on that particular Calathea. Now, with Calatheas in general, you don't want their soil to dry out completely. You want to keep it more on the moist side. So I would say when the top of the soil is about 20% dry, go ahead and give it a full soak. It also helps to give it really good humidity levels. I would say the humidity level needs to be around 60%. With my plant room, and what's really exciting, plant foldies, is that I have been working on my plant room for quite some time now. I've got 2 humidifiers there, and it stays within that 65, sometimes 70 range to really up that humidity. I've just noticed that it has made the difference in terms of my plants. And whenever you go to like a local plant nursery like Green Acres, Nursery and Supply, you'll notice that they do have like a greenhouse and they have like a misting situation for these plants. So they are literally living their best lives. As you can see right over here, plant foldies, we've got a Spathiphyllum domino for only $15.50. So this is a variegated peace lily. What I like about the peace lily is it is a very easy to care for plant in a sense that it can tolerate very low light conditions. Like, I know that some people may not believe me when I say this, but you can actually grow a peace lily in the bathroom with no windows and it will still do fairly well. Would it grow pretty quickly? No, because it most plants still need quite a bit of light. I say this in all my videos, but if you are planning on growing plants, the best happy medium would always be bright indirect light for these tropical plants. And you will get the best coloration, the best leaf sizes, and just the best health out of the plant versus putting them in a low light situation. As you can see right here, they've just got a massive amount of plants in this greenhouse. I love the fact that they have large Dracaenas in this corner, and I'm gonna walk over here and just show you a couple. Dracaenas are one of my favorite plants because number one, they are super underrated. Number two, they're cost effective. And number three, the care for them is super easy, except this one right we're about to approach right here. That is a Dracaena Song of India. That is one of the Dracaenas that definitely needs lots of light, otherwise it will drop its foliage. It is a little bit more of a thirsty Dracaena versus this Dracaena right over here. I love that Dracaena can get this large. So for those that go to like big box stores like Lowe's, Home Depot, or Walmart to find your Dracaenas, typically like Costa Farms will sell them for 3.5-inch planters as like an exotic angel plant. These Dracaena can grow this large or even larger. Dracaenas are also low light tolerant. They are a little bit more drought tolerant than the typical plant. And so I just feel like people need to add Dracaenas to their collection. I pan away over here, plant foldies. Look at all of these large foliage plants, these larger size plants. There is this whole notion that either we grow plants to grow them those large sizes, or if you want that instant gratification, you can just go to a local nursery like this and buy a large Dracaena marginata, for instance, or even this Dracaena warneckii right over here, this green one. For me, whenever I look at certain plants, especially if it's a plant that's a little bit more costly, like I'm not going to buy a large like Monstera albo, for instance. Sometimes I will settle for a smaller variety of that plant because you'll save a little bit more money. But, for certain plants, you can buy plants at a large size for a pretty good deal. So it just really depends on the price. I always say if the price is right, I'm probably going to buy that plant. Now, I haven't spent a lot of time talking about air plants, but you can see that Green Acres has a bunch of different types of air plants with a bunch of accessories. Some people are under the notion that air plants that they're not really alive. I do think that they are. As far as air plant care, I know to water them, you would just soak them, let them absorb the water, and then let them dry out completely, and they should be good. I have been told that air plants tend to like to be more on the drier side. Otherwise, they end up getting, they start to rot. So that's really all I know about air plants. So again, plant foldies, if you know a little bit more about the plant care tips for air plants, please leave that in the comments. I am all about that engagement. I love it when y'all take the time to leave many comments. I know that my plant foldie loyal plant foldies, Isaac of Hi JR Sings, as well as Luke, always encourage people to leave many comments for the videos, as well as hitting the like button. So I appreciate you too. Our community is really growing at a pretty fast pace, and that's because you guys always tune into my live premiere chats. For those that literally watch my videos every single evening and hit that like button, you guys are amazing. You're the reason why I've been able to grow our community at such a rapid pace. And just the success of this channel has really been because you have taken the time, you have invested the time to just engage with me. Now over here, plant foldies, you can see that there is an Alocasia table, and with Alocasias, I have kind of gone a little crazy over Alocasias because the floodgates have opened up in terms of being able to grow Alocasias a little bit more effectively. I've noticed that since I have converted them to semi-hydroponics, they've been able to grow a little bit more easily for me in semi-hydroponics. I've noticed that my Alocasias are not dying. There is an acclimation period. So for instance, say if I were to buy this variegated Alocasia Blizzard, for instance, if I were to put them in pond, I have seen their leaves kind of like droop down a little bit. You might lose a couple of leaves because the roots are actually converting from like soil roots to semi-water roots. So what I've been told is you just have to be patient. There is an acclimation period, and not all transitions from soil to pond or leca are always successful. So there's always like a risk for that, but I'm willing to take that risk when it comes to Alocasia because as you can see over here, plant foldies, there's a lot of beautiful Alocasia. Now this Alocasia, I love the look of this, but this is another Alocasia that continues to break my heart. This is an Alocasia Jacqueline, and the thing about Alocasia Jacqueline is for some reason, this particular Alocasia is a very sensitive Alocasia. It's a very dramatic one, and I haven't been able to keep it alive. Now this one for $38.50, I believe is the Alocasia Quilted Dreams. I do like the texture of the leaves. I also like the leaf shape of it. This is another Alocasia I would love to add to my collection. Now, here's the thing about Alocasias. If you want, basic care tips, Alocasias, you don't necessarily want to like keep their soil 100% dry. You want to make sure that you are watering them at a consistent basis. You want to give them high humidity because they are very much spider mite prone. Bright indirect light is the best. And so for me, even after giving them those care conditions, like this one's only for $7.75, really nice price for this Alocasia poly, for instance, I am still a little bit cautious about putting out or growing Alocasia in soil. So I have tried my Alocasias in pond. So far they're doing okay. I'm going to give them another month to see if they will they will actually acclimate successfully. We'll see what that looks like. But whenever I was at Green Acres Nursery and Supply, I was tempted to purchase even more Alocasia. Like, look at how gorgeous this leaf is for that Alocasia Jacqueline. And what I love about doing plant shopping videos early in the morning is if you notice how gorgeous the light is, that morning light just shining on these plants is amazing. Early morning is really one of my favorite parts of the day. I think whenever you think about the morning, you think about a brand new day, a brand new start, being able to like seize the day. And that's kind of symbolic of just mornings for me. I get a lot of my work done in the morning. I do a lot of my plant editing in the morning, and I tend to my plants in the morning. So there's just a lot going on, and that's when I'm actually off. Now, when I am at work, I'm at work pretty early in the morning trying to get things done. But as you can see right over here, plant foldies, we've got the larger form of an Alocasia Bambino, which I ended up purchasing at this location just because I do like the Alocasia Bambino, but I wanted a larger size one. So this one is in a 6-inch planter. I do like the fact that this one right here has that longer foliage. And here's the thing about growing Alocasia in ponds. So obviously you want to get the substrate correct. You want to go ahead and water it thoroughly, but I think every 3 days you want to take it out of the self-watering planter and actually water the entire plant, like the substrate and everything. So that's really part of my my routines as far as like trying to acclimate my Alocasia. I was really debating about getting this this Hilo Beauty. I believe this is a Caladium, or they say it's an Alocasia. I'm not sure, but beautiful plant. That is a plant though that is best to be grown outdoors. For some reason, if you're going to grow them indoors, unless you're providing it with quite a bit of humidity, light, and heat, it may end up going dormant. But I do love the look of the plant. You know, these like camouflage looking plants, that's another type of pattern or leaf texture, coloration, however you want to call it, that I'm really into. So obviously I talked about dark foliage plants. I like neon colored yellow plants. I like pink plants, red plants, and then also that camouflage plant. So there was like a Homalomena camouflage, for instance, that kind of has that similar look as of the Hilo Beauty, but it is a beautiful plant. And then over here is a Xanthosoma right over here for $27.50. I know Trending Tropicals sells these plants as well by Costa Farms. This is another plant that I do want to eventually add to my collection. And I think the reason why I want to add it to my collection is obviously look at that really stark veining on the leaves. It just gives you that jungle vibe, and I am all about that jungle vibe. Over here we also have, let's see, an Alocasia Yucatan Princess. And what I like about the Yucatan Princess is obviously the pink stems, but if you look at the leaves, it's got a metallic shine about it, and metallic looking plants also give me just, I just love them. And you know, I guess the beauty of growing plants is really being able to join the new, enjoy the nuances of a particular plant. You can see that they just have a full table of Alocasia. So if you ever want to just like start a collection of a specific type of plant, if you go to Green Acres in Irving, Texas, or even the Melissa location, which is where I really frequent that just because it's closer in proximity to where I'm based at, I would recommend it. Again, whenever you do plant shopping at any store, whether it's a big box store or a local plant nursery, I would do a little bit of research on the particular plant. So whether if you're looking at that plant specifically at that very moment, you can always Google search it and see if you can find these plants. Now, for $27.50, they have some pretty large varieties of the Syngonium Starlight. So Syngonium Starlight is really interesting because when you look at the leaves, none of the leaves are pretty much the same arrowhead type shape as you would typically see from a Syngonium. It kind of has like mutations of that, so which makes it really easy to differentiate it from all the other plants. Now this one right here is only for $7.75. I actually wanted to buy the Syngonium. Now I don't know what that variety is, but I do like that it has that dark foliage on it, and then the pink veining. And then I am definitely gonna buy this Syngonium right here. I don't know the plant ID off the top of my head, but it does look familiar. And the reason why I want to buy this Syngonium is notice how the leaves are smaller. The leaves have a little bit more of a narrow shape, and it is a very compact Syngonium. Syngoniums come in many shapes, sizes, varieties, and this one tends to be a little bit more of a compact shape, which is what I want to add to my collection. So Syngoniums are honestly my #1 first love. If you talk about all the plants that I've always been into, Syngoniums have always been that one particular plant that I always run back to. You know, for the longest time, I would say Aglaonemas kind of took the crown from Syngoniums, and now I am back at Syngonium. So I don't know, plant foldies, if you go back and forth on which particular plant you gravitate to. I know I tend to do that, but overall, as far as like plants in general, I just love all types of plants. And you'll notice during this channel, I will show outdoor plants, gardening plants, vegetable plants, bonsai, Japanese gardens, everything you want to think about plants. This is definitely going to be the plant channel you want to go to. And as you can see over here, plant foldies, I'm just showing you different varieties of Syngoniums. Like, look at how beautiful that pink Syngonium is right here. Now, a lot of these Syngoniums are not labeled. And that's the only thing I would say. I just wish that, growers, when they send them to local plant nurseries like Green Acres, would have them a little bit more labeled. But, otherwise, that's really my only critique. I mean, for $9.75, look at how beautiful this Syngonium is. And if you really look close at the leaves have even more like splotches of green to it. And then you can see over here, this is another Syngonium 3 Kings for $17.50. I actually have a Syngonium 3 Kings as well, and I remember spending close to $100 about 4 years ago when I bought it as like a 1-node 2-leaf cutting. I've been able to get it to grow, obviously, and that's the thing about Syngoniums. They are probably the easiest, one of the easiest plants to propagate through cuttings and through just water propagation. They're easy to multiply. And so what I would say is with Syngoniums, if you're able to get them to trail, take a bunch of cuttings, root them, and then stick them back into the mother plant so you have a more full plant. Syngoniums in general like to climb. So, you know, if you want them to really give you that mature leaf where they change their actual arrowhead shape to more like trilobes, definitely put them on a moss pole, a totem pole, and let them climb. If you let them trail down, their leaves actually end up becoming smaller and smaller. Now, at this table, we're also looking at some peperomia. So this is another Peperomia obtusifolia. Here's the thing about peperomias. They are considered basic plants because you can see them often at many local nurseries, but they're easy to care for plants. They do require a little bit of bright indirect light. That's what they would thrive the best. But as you can see here, this one is just a green Peperomia obtusifolia. This one actually has, you know, blooms. You can see that those little rat tails are actually its blooms. So it's living its best life. And then you can see over here, these dark foliage plants are the Pilea Pan Am. And I love the Pilea Pan Am because it actually has done well for me. It's a little bit more forgiving than most Pileas. This one's only for $7.75. And the thing about Pilea plants as well is it requires a little bit more not light humidity. But for this one, I've been able to get away with it just drying out completely, which is actually a big shocker for me. Needless to say, some plants can be a little bit more forgiving, and that's the plants I tend to gravitate to. You can see over here, this is another type of peperomia. Look at the texture of this peperomia plant foldies. Really nice looking plant. And, you know, with peperomias and Pilea plants, there's so many different varieties. And so at Green Acres, they have, you know, a table full of them. This one is a really nice looking one as well. Notice how it has red stems, and then when you really look close at the leaves, there's a little bit more texture. I would recommend those plants as well for anybody that is starting to grow plants as a beginner. They are a little bit more forgiving. Like this one right here is a Peperomia Ginny. Now this one has more of like a succulent type vibe about it because it is really drought tolerant. You can touch the leaves and you can tell that it's pretty waxy, meaning it can hold a little bit more water and a little bit more moisture. And notice how it has that red outlining around it. You get that nice coloration when you sun stress that particular peperomia. And when I talk about sun stressing means you're giving that particular plant a little bit more light than it needs. It's not necessarily putting it in full sun where it can burn it, but it's pushing it to the point where it's getting too much light without actually hurting the plant. It's actually increasing the coloration. And you can see that one was a Hedra. It actually wasn't a Hedra helix. It's actually an Algerian ivy. And then now we are actually at the Hoya table at Green Acres Nursery and Supply in Irving, Texas. You can see that they have a lot of like 4-inch starter planters. And, you know, you can see over here, I'm not the biggest Hoya head in terms of knowing all of the Hoya varieties. But what I can tell you is they have really cost-effective pricing for Hoyas. What I do like about Hoyas, basic care tips is bright indirect light, water when the soil is about 60 to 70% dry. They are able to tolerate drought as they can hold a lot of water. If you give them more humidity, that is really a good thing for Hoyas. They can be grown up a trellis, or you can let them hang down like a hanging basket. Now Hoyas, I haven't had my Hoyas actually bloom yet, but they actually bloom very fragrant flowers, and each Hoya has its own fragrance as well as bloom color. Now the one I just picked up right here is a Hoya carnosa. I think that is a Hoya carnosa Crimson Queen. Leave me in the comments if that's the correct plant ID. And then you can see right here, this is a Hoya carnosa Crimson Princess. These two Hoyas I just picked up are the most common Hoyas you can find at a big box store. So those are plants that even though it is common, I just like the variegation. And then you can see right here, we've got a Raven ZZ. ZZ plants, Raven ZZ, any ZZ type plant is probably the easiest house plant you can grow, arguably because it is low light tolerant and you can get away without watering that plant for quite some time. Like literally, I haven't watered my Raven ZZ in over a month and it's still doing well. Over here, we have a variegated Hindu rope or a variegated Hoya compacta. compacta. That one is a very slow growing plant. It is one of the more sought after plants. The only thing about variegated Hoya compacta or Hoya compacta, that Hindu rope, is if it gets mealy bugs, it would be very difficult to just go in the crevices to get rid of mealy bugs. And that's the thing about plant care. Just know that at some point in your plant journey, you may end up getting pests. That is part of having plants, because when you think about it, you're taking plants that have been sourced from an outdoor environment, and then we've acclimated them to grow indoors. But if you grow them indoors, unless you have just natural predator bugs, you're going to have some of these pests make it into the plant. So, don't be discouraged if you see plant pests. My advice is, and this is just from experience, don't ignore the pests. Make sure that you try to eradicate it before it becomes a full-blown infestation. Otherwise, you could lose your entire plant collection. It has happened to me 3 times. My 4th time now growing plants at a massive rate. I've been really good about, spraying my plants down with my neem oil, washing the leaves with my shower head, just making sure that I'm, completely cleaning them. And being on that routine has really helped me prevent full-blown infestations. Do I still have, the occasional fungus gnats that come around? I haven't seen any mealy bugs, but I've had situations with thrifts, but they don't actually spread because I'm able to capture them and get rid of them with my neem oil spray and just my solid routines. But anyways, plant foldies, I know that I've been talking a lot about plant care tips and just my insights. I hope you don't mind that as we walk around this nursery. That's the thing about my plant shopping videos. I do daily plant shopping videos with the intent to obviously show you plants like this Sansevieria moonshine, beautiful plant as well, low light tolerant, although I would say give it more light for it to maintain its coloration. But I utilize my plant shopping videos as almost like a personal blog. If you ever want to hear somebody talk to you or just kind of keep you company, this is almost like a personal blog where I can just literally tell you my personal insights, what I'm thinking about my plants, what I'm thinking about life in general. And I feel really happy that I've been able to utilize this platform to just talk about whatever's on my mind, mostly about plants, but then also for y'all to get to know me just a little bit more so. And speaking of getting to know me a little bit more so, just know, I know I've been talking about this plant foldies, but I really am working on getting on my houseplant tour. I'm getting super excited because I'm actually going to take the time to really edit them. So if you notice, a lot of my plant shopping videos are pretty much point and shoot, voiceover. But with my my houseplant tour, I am going to try to get different angles, different lighting conditions, all the good stuff in terms of my editing. So if you do want to see my plant houseplant tour, again, plant foldies, please leave that in the comments. It may really just push me on the edge to just be like, okay, I'm gonna spend an entire day where I don't do anything but work on my houseplant tour. But anyways, going back to the Sansevierias, if you notice, I have picked up a couple of different and unique Sansevierias. I don't know the plant ID for that, but that is another uncommon Sansevieria or snake plant. And you can see that they have different varieties. I would say for Sansevieria, they're known as or marketed as an easy to care for plant. I would say yes, and they also are marketed as a plant that is effective at cleaning the air. I would say yes. So if you want fresh air, clean air, have a Sansevieria. I actually have one next to my nightstand, and in my mind, I just feel like it's keeping the air around me as I sleep clean. So that's another benefit about having plants in your home, is that you are guaranteed cleaner air because these plants are filtering out all of those toxins and just really purifying the air. Now, as you can see over here, I always gravitate to this Dracaena. This is a Dracaena Florida Beauty, and the thing about it is, it's just the speckling of the leaves. Now, this one is a more challenging Dracaena to grow, though. If you compare it to the typical Dracaenas, it doesn't even have the same shape of leaves, but it is one of those plants that if you are able to grow into a mature form, it is really a stunner. And then over here is one of the most easiest Dracaenas to grow. It's one that you will see at a big box store. That is the Dracaena Janet Craig compacta. And you can see right on the left middle part right here, that is a larger form of a Dracaena Janet Craig compacta. You can tell it's super compact. And then you can see over here, we've got some more Dracaena Song of Indias. I would love to be able to grow a Dracaena Song of India, but the problem is with Dracaena Song of India plant foldies is it needs a lot of light. And as you can see, plant foldies, I just kind of panned around and showed you all of those gorgeous Dracaenas. Now we're looking at some of these Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf trees. The Melissa location out in Melissa, Texas also has quite a bit of houseplants, and I am going to be visiting them, but you can see that this location also has a bunch of succulents and cactus. So you can see we've got a bunch of Crusala or jade plants in this location. Actually, jade plants are probably my favorite type of succulents alongside with the Aeoniums. I don't know a lot about succulents and cactus, but I have been attempting to at least showcase more of these types of plants because we do have several plant foldies that enjoy succulents, cactus, euphorbia. I think of Trish, who I was able to meet out in PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, for instance, Kathy out in Canada. So ladies, I do hope you enjoy my attempts to show you all of these different plants. Like right over here, I didn't even realize that this is some type of aloe vera plant. And you can see that on the edges of the foliage are some of those dark red tones about it. And then you can see this is another type of succulent plant right over here. These are only for $7.75. Again, plant foldies, when it comes to local plant nurseries, you can't always assume that a big box store is going to have the best pricing. You'd be surprised about what types of plants you can find at such a good value, even at a local nursery. And what I also like about local nurseries like Green Acres is the fact that they do have a huge selection of plants. Like not only do they have obviously the tropical aeroids, but they also have many different types of succulents. I haven't even delved into the outdoor section. Today, I'm not going to actually go into the outdoor section, but you will notice that there are quite a bit of different types of plants. Like these are called lithophs or living stones. That one's actually in bloom, super cute. And then we're also going to be looking at some of the planters. You can see that they have the shallow planters right over here. Those are mostly for bonsai, but also for a lot of the succulent arrangements that you can make. You can see on the very right, they have some type of, I think, foxtail palm, and then you can see they have a whole display and setup of the types of soil you can use for your succulents and cactus. You'll notice that they have a lot of amenities that actually mix into the soil to make it a little bit more fast draining. A lot of people will add pumice. They will also add lava rock as well as perlite. I have my own little mix that I use if I'm going to use soil substrate to plant my plants. I am currently converting a lot of my plants into semi-hydroponics. I'm going to see if that is going to work out for me a little bit easier than just say growing plants in straight soil. And then I'm thinking of this right here. Look at this. For $6.50, you can get a desert rose that is red in bloom. So for another plant foldie by the name of Rose, I would also recommend going to Irving, Texas, because if you're looking for a desert rose, they will show you the picture of the actual bloom, and you will also get that color. I know you were looking for a red bloom, so I thought of you when I picked these up to show everybody today. But if you want a small desert rose to start out with, these are for $6.50. I have 2 desert rose that I'm currently growing in my collection. I was given a variegated desert rose recently, and I have just converted it into a more fast draining bonsai type mix. I want to start getting more desert rose converted into like a bonsai situation. So we're going to see what that looks like. I'm currently propagating 2 as well, so I will keep you guys posted on that. But as far as the soils, they actually have all of the supplies you need to be able to successfully grow these succulents and cactus. And then let's take a look at this. So this is actually a really unique cactus. It's called the booby cactus right there. And then they have another one where it's like spinning like a tornado. And then we also have a bunch of Madagascar palms right over here. Those have some beautiful blooms. But look at the twister of this type of cactus right here. And then we actually have a ghost like euphorbia. I actually have a small variety that I ended up getting, or a smaller version of it that I ended up getting from a friend of mine. So as far as sourcing plants, you can go to a local nursery, you can definitely go to a big box store, or if you have people that want to gift you plants, plant trade, or even just swap propagations, that's another way to grow your plant collection. And you know, plant foliage, you can see over here another gorgeous desert rose. Now with desert rose, it is definitely a succulent, so what you have to do is you have to give it a lot of light. If you don't provide it with quite a bit of light, it's not going to do well for you. It actually prefers to be out in full sun, and it likes to be on the drier side, so I would not overwater this plant, otherwise you will end up root rotting it. The caudex might end up getting rot. The caudex is actually the big thick trunk of the plant, and that's the thing, it's better to be more so on the drier side. So for that particular plant, that actually works for me because I consider myself an underwaterer. I don't really water my plants on a consistent basis, and it's the same thing. Do you see how large that Sansevieria trifasciata is in the very middle of that table? That is massive. And then we also have a bunch of bird of paradise. Now here's the thing about bird of paradise. It is a plant that, as beautiful as the foliage is, you have to have quite a bit of light. Like if you're going to grow this indoors, a bird of paradise, you better have like really large windows, and you need to go ahead and put it in front of like a south facing window or a western facing window. Otherwise you may run into a situation where that plant is not going to do well. It really does require quite a bit of light, which makes it a little bit more of a challenging plant, at least for me. And also just the space constraints, you know, unless you live in a house with really tall ceilings and a lot of space, there are certain plants, like even this Alocasia regal shields, for instance, I couldn't add into my collection just because of space, space constraints. I do have some large foliage plants in my personal collection, which you will see when I do my houseplant tour, but for the most part, a lot of my plants are not that big. And you can see over here, we have a Japanese Aralia, the spiderweb form, and as I pan around over here, it is such a beautiful morning when I filmed this this plant shopping video for you guys. And I tell you, just being able to absorb and really admire all of the foliage, all of the different types of plants that they have at Green Acres Nursery and Supply out in Irving, Texas. It is just magical. If you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and if you're ever going to visit Dallas, I would recommend going to both locations and checking it out. Now, the Irving location obviously has been around much longer, but I mean, you can see this right here. Look at the sun stressing on this Hoya carnosa. You can see the pinks. I love pink plants, and just to be able to get that because it's received quite a bit of light, it's stunning. And you can see that this is just like another urban jungle. Like this is another hidden forest that you can just walk through. You don't necessarily have to purchase plants. You can just walk through here and just kind of breathe the fresh air, enjoy the plants, and just really admire all of the greenery. You know, I always tell people, if you're ever anxious, if you're ever stressed, take a moment and just absorb the plants by just looking at that and really practicing mindfulness. Of course, I wanted to pan over here and show you how gorgeous this Dracaena lime light is. It's so beautiful. I love the look of this plant. And let's see how much it costs. It is only for $45.50. Very good price for a large foliage plant that is also drought tolerant and also low light tolerant. And so I almost sound like, whenever I think about some of the commentary I do for certain plants, you can tell that I think that I could be like a spokesperson for a specific plant, like the Dracaena. I really do think that people need to add Dracaenas to their collection. I know that there may not be a big following. Maybe it's because it's not highly sought after because the value or the price range isn't that high, but I'm telling you, Dracaenas need to be added. And I am going to be buying a strawberry begonia variegated form. This is only for $9.75. I love the variegation, and this is another plant that easily propagates because it's similar to like a spider plant where it will shoot out little babies that you can chop off from the mother plant and then stick on top of soil, mist it, and it will propagate itself. Like this is definitely the one I'm gonna buy because this is an example of how it's already pushed out a lot of little babies. So for $9.75, I'm literally getting five plants. I have the main plant and then 4 little offshoots that I'm gonna definitely propagate. But I have been wanting to get one of these plants. Now, if you give it more light, it's going to give you better variegation. And so, you know, this is an easy to care for plant. Now, there is the typical strawberry begonia non-variegated form that you can find at a big box or typically in a hanging basket by Costa Farms. But I do want that variegated form because I do like the pink tone around it. And I did want to pan around again and show you the beautiful begonia. So if I were to pick a begonia today, I would definitely want to purchase this one. This one is for $20 though. It is an angel wing begonia. Look at that dark foliage right there. I would want to go buy this and then gift it to my grandmother because I already know she'll be able to grow it to a large size. And the next thing you know, a year later, she's got a whole backyard full of propagations. If you haven't been able to watch my grandmother's video, I did an interview and I actually did a tour of some of the plants she has in her home. That is under the big box or plant shopping video at Home Depot. You'll see the thumbnail where it has a picture of her and her plumerias. I would love for you to check that out, Plant Foldies, if you haven't already, or you can team replay it and watch it again. Leave some comments. I actually showed her all of the positive comments she gave my grandmother, and she was super delighted. She was even inspired more, and just to see my grandmother smile, she didn't even realize that she could be like a YouTube star. We joke about how many people actually engaged into that video more so than some of my other ones because of her. So again, Plant Foldies, thank you for showing her a lot of love. Thank you for always exercising positivity on this channel, and also just for tuning in. But as you can see here, Plant Foldies, I am now at the table where I'm showing you some Dieffenbachia mixed with Aglaonema. I've never seen that Dieffenbachia right there. And then this is another Aglaonema I do want to purchase today. This one is for $13.50. I love the speckling of this particular Aglaonema, and I am starting to collect my Aglaonema again. There was a moment in time earlier this year where a lot of my Aglaonema, sad to say, that I imported from Indonesia last fall, ended up just getting very leggy, and a lot of them just ended up making it to plant heaven. I don't even really want to think about the amount of money I lost just because it is a little bit costly to import Aglaonemas. What I did learn from it is, again, it is all about the routines you have around your plants, the amount of time you are willing to invest in your plants, and also just the type of space and also the setup you have for your plants. So for instance, for me, now having a plant room where I can sit here and observe my plants on a daily basis, enjoy them, being able to water them, being able to have a routine has made it easier for me to keep my plants from going to plant heaven. With that being said, I am comfortable with adding more plants, specifically Aglaonema, because I have them set up to where I know the specific care that they're going to need, the amount of time I need to provide for them. Now over here, Plant Foldies, is a Dieffenbachia reflector. That is another beautiful Dieffenbachia. It's one that is a little bit more finicky because the leaves are a little bit more velvety shape and more velvety texture. So when you have plants that are a little bit more velvet in texture, they tend to be a little bit more spider mite prone, which means you need to either provide a lot of humidity or you need to be consistently spraying the plant with like neem oil. Over here is a Dieffenbachia Camille. I love this Dieffenbachia, and that is such a good price for $40. It's already a large one. And then we have an Aglaonema Etta Rose here for $69.50. It's a little bit pricey. My grandmother actually has this one. This pink variety of an Aglaonema takes quite a bit of time for it to grow to that size. And then check out this Dieffenbachia right here for also $40. Look at how large the leaves are. And you know, as far as Dieffenbachia, I try to steer away from them, but they're so tempting to want to add to your plant collection because look at the leaves, like the Dieffenbachia Camille, the Dieffenbachia, which I don't know that plant ID. It's such a beautiful plant. If you're going to grow Dieffenbachia, again, Plant Foldies, you have to have quite a bit of light. So either give them south-facing window, or you can grow them under a grow light, or if you're able to grow them pretty much year-round outside, I would recommend growing them outside because you're going to be able to size up their leaves fairly quickly. And then we're gonna just keep walking around here. So this is the other table where we have a bunch of philodendrons. Again, I wanted to walk over here and show you this philodendron jungle boogie. It has a little bit of a bloom, and you know, with all of the serrated philodendrons, that's one that I want to add to my collection. And then you can see right over here we have a Syndapsis exotica. If I can just get this out, I'm having trouble doing so, but beautiful plant, $9.75. And look at how large the leaves are. I don't really have any Syndapsis in my collection except a Syndapsis silver and that I ended up getting at another big box store. It was a live trans ceramic hanging basket. So there's just a lot of plants I do want to add to my collection. Again, plant foldies, it is really all about pacing, how many plants you're adding in your plant collection, and how many plants you can handle in terms of just the plant care. I will tell you that I'm not as overwhelmed with growing all of these plants because of how I have shifted my focus into really having a space specifically for plants. I don't feel like my house is just one big clutter of all of these plants around. It's starting to really become more organized, and you know, when you have things organized, it's easier to just grow plants. This philodendron right over here, plant foldies, is a beautiful philodendron. Fuzzy petiole, look at the leaves. It's just got a stunning texture about it. And, you know, Green Acres tends to have a very good selection. I love the fact that they can source out many different varieties of philodendrons, monsteras, pothos plants, Epipremnum panatum, and even crotons. So this one is a really interesting one. This one has very thin thread-like foliage. You know, it is fall, and I really never thought about crotons being in peak season to purchase. So if ever I want to find like crotons at a more cost-effective price, definitely purchase them in the fall season. It seems like every single big box store, every single local nursery, grocery store are carrying crotons with the intent of having them be more so of like an annual plant. Unfortunately, I wish people would grow crotons year round, because when you let them grow to their maximum potential, they become full-blown trees. When I was out in the Philippines, I took a vacation out in August. The Philippines had so many large croton plants to the point where they were literally 15 to 20 feet tall. They can become full-blown trees. Crotons do require a lot of humidity. If you give them that, they will really thrive. Same thing with the Ficus lyrata over here. They can become full-blown trees. But as you can see, plant foldies, I'm just walking around showing you the actual nursery. Look at how gorgeous it is. Look at how peaceful it is. My camera doesn't do it justice. You've really got to go in and actually see this for yourself. So again, plant foldies, this is a nursery that I have visited on a consistent basis. I can tell you that their plants are healthy. I can tell you that the service levels are amazing, and their plant pricing is cost effective as well. And then you can see right here, they do have a syngonium, planter right here with two different types of syngoniums. I do like that dark foliage right there. I believe this one is for $38, and it's even got some rock top dressing, which is really cool. You can see right here, this is from Woohoo Tropicals. This is the Pink Splash. Syngoniums are a good variety of plants to add to your collection if you are looking for more of like a pink variety. There's many varieties of pink syngoniums. So definitely want to check that out. And then you can see that they actually have some plants. Remember how I showed you my Green Acres Melissa, where I was able to buy like a planter, like a 4-inch planter with a bunch of cuttings, different cuttings for $9.75. They have that potted up. And then these are syngoniums. So this one is a syngonium pink salmon for $27.50, and I'm willing to pay that price. I could probably find a smaller cutting for a little bit more less, but knowing that I love Green Acres, I will purchase that plant. And I know that these plants were sourced out from Toltec Plants, which is a wholesaler based out in Florida now, but Pearl, who actually sells these plants from her farm in Thailand, they import these plants. These were actually from her, and I actually have this syngonium as well. I didn't realize that this one was really more of an uncommon one. That one was actually given to me as like a cutting from my friend Mike, our Monstera Mike. He doesn't really do a lot of plant content anymore, but a couple years back, he gave me one of those. I've been able to keep a mother plant and grow that, and then look at how gorgeous this pink one is too. I was tempted to purchase that, but then again, I'm not trying to spend $30 on multiple Syngoniums, knowing that I could possibly get cuttings or propagations, but I did want to go ahead and purchase the Syngonium Pink Salmon. This is actually a really nice Syngonium aurea, and the thing about Syngonium aureas are it's hard to find high variegation Syngonium aureas. They tend to be a little bit more finicky about being able to hold their aurea variegation, as well as they just kind of get a little bit crispy as well. But that's another plant I wanted to definitely get. But you can see this is a beautiful pink salmon. I love how the leaves change into more of like a trilobe type situation. And so for those that are looking for uncommon plants, rare plants, easy to care for plants, definitely check out Green Acres Nursery and Supply, both locations. But this one that we are looking at right now is the Irving, Texas one. Like, this is one of my favorite Syngoniums. This is a Syngonium Panda Galaxy, and what I like about it is, obviously, look at how gorgeous the leaves are. Look at that speckling, and this Syngonium used to be so expensive. I spent over $100 about 4 years ago trying to buy a two leaf, one node cutting to propagate and grow. And now you can see that Syngoniums are more readily available. And that's the thing I like about the plant climate these days. We're able to get plants at a more cost-effective price. As I pan away over here, plant foliage, you can see this is the planting bar at Green Acres. So if you choose a plant and you want them to repot it or start an arrangement, you can ask the staff to do that, and they can actually set that up for you. They can give you more plant care tips, and in general, you can just be able to pick the planters, because in my first part of the video, I showed you guys all of the different planters. I did want to walk in here again and just show you all of the plants again, just one last time to kind of pan over. So for those again that have enjoyed the Green Acres nursery tour, I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you're hitting the like button. The second part of this video is going to be another local plant nursery that I often visit, so I hope you will continue to watch this video because there's still plenty of video left. You can see over here they just have water fixtures. We've got all sorts of different types of philodendron. That's a beautiful philodendron, red imperial. We've got a Dracaena white aspen, and lots of gorgeous plants, big and tall, and just lots of plants to choose from. Again, plant foldies, what do you guys think of the Phalaenopsis orchids? I definitely want to know your thoughts about Green Acres. What plants would you want to see them source out? Have you actually been there? Leave that in the comments, because I do intend to visit them again. I tend to know when they get their restock, so I can keep you posted on any new plants that they're getting. That's the exciting part about doing these big box store plant shopping videos, especially for the local plant foldies. At least you know when a plant is coming around. There are certain big box stores that I have been really paying attention to. In Costco, there is a particular plant that was really uncommon that they recently released that is actually at a pretty good price, that actually rivals the Monstera Thai constellation that I'm hoping I can find. But the next plant nursery I'm going to go to obviously is Callaway's Nursery. So this is another local plant nursery chain. There are several Callaways all over the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I just wanted to walk over here. This is the one located off of Highway 121 off of Custer Road. This is one that I visit often. It's one of the larger Callaway's nurseries, and you know, the thing about Callaway's Nursery is that they do source out a lot of plants. They have a really good loyalty program where you can earn points, and they just source out many different plants at a pretty good cost-effective price. And so again, plant foldies, if you have made it this far, please make sure you have hit the like button, have left some comments, and just stay tuned for some of the plants that we're going to take a look at. Like any of these plants right here, you see how they have many different types of planters. You can see that vincas are still in season, and as I walk around here, look at this. It is full-blown fall season, and that is super exciting because with all the different pumpkins and different gourds and just all that fall color, you know, the oranges, the yellows, the reds, the tans, the caramels, the browns. It's super cool. But I'm just going to pan around here and just show you the different types of pumpkins, and let me know what you think so far. We're obviously going to go look at the plants, but you know, I like to keep it kind of seasonally relevant as well whenever I do my my videos. So let's take a look at these pumpkins.
You've been chosen.
plant foliage, you can see they had so many different varieties of pumpkins and gourds, and now they look like they've sold through a lot of their large foliage plants. Typically this Callaway's is super full, but you can see that people have bought a lot of these plants up. You can see that they have all of these mature specimens of Dracaenas. So this one is a Dracaena Limelight. Again, this is a large Dracaena, considering that typically we'll find this at a big box store like Lowe's, Home Depot, or Walmart, being sold as a Costa Farms Exotic Angel starter planter. That one is only for $40. And you can see how large these plants can get. This is a good plant if you want to put it in a lower light setting and actually light it up because of the neon foliage. And then this is what they call the Dracaena Janet Craig compacta. Yep, this one is another one that, notice how large these green leaves can get, and it's super compact, super cute. And then we also have a Dracaena Dorado right over here. Typically we'll find that as another Costa Farms plant, but you can see that that is more of a mature form. This can even get larger and larger, and I love the fact that this one you can actually source out. Now if you're looking for a large foliage Dracaena, I would recommend purchasing it at Callaway's Nursery, and the reason being is Dracaena are not fast growing plants. They're a little bit slower growing. So if you want that instant gratification, if you need that statement piece plant, you know, sometimes it's easier just to go ahead and buy it at a big box store or a local nursery like this one. You can see over here, we've got some Dracaena Masangianas, or what you call the cane Dracaenas. Now these are often found at like doctor's offices or corporate offices. I don't really see a lot of people putting these in their plant collections, but needless to say, if you want an easy to care for plant, that is another one I would recommend. You see that at a big box store often, as well as a Schefflera amate. Beautiful plant. It does get really large. And then here is just another Schefflera or umbrella plant. My grandmother has a large one like this, and she is constantly propagating from it. She says it's very easy to propagate. I do like Scheffleras. They're an easy to care for plant. It is another plant that not a lot of people are running to purchase, but you can see how beautiful the foliage is. And let's see how much that one is right there. That is for $89.99. A little bit pricey, but you know what? You are getting a large plant, and that's a plant that will not go to plant heaven as easily as some of the other plants. But Callaway's Nursery, same thing with Green Acres Nursery and Supply. It is a common staple if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm pretty sure if you grow plants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you have been in a Callaway's. If you haven't, I would recommend it because you will see many varieties of plants. Like right over here is a Ficus elastica burgundy. Beautiful plant as well. It is a plant that I would say is more of an intermediate plant. It's not a plant that's for a beginner, and only because it does require a little bit more light. So you have to really be cautious about what your lighting conditions are. It needs high light. Any Ficus plant actually really needs high light. And I'm just walking around here to see what else they have. So the thing about it is, Callaway's Nursery is trying to constantly restock their plants. You can see we have a Monstera deliciosa, gorgeous leaf. I love that it's green. I love that it's, you know, a classic house plant. And then we have a bunch of totems right here. So we have hanging baskets and totems of Epipremnum panatum and Epipremnum aureum or pothos plants. Like this one right here is on a totem. This is an Epipremnum panatum neon. So this is another one where it has more of like that neon variegation, and you can see that it is growing up on a totem. These plants are called epiphytes, so they want to make sure that they climb up a pole, a moss pole, or some type of plank. And as they grow up a pole, typically once their aerial roots actually attach to the pole, they will actually get larger leaves. They will actually fenestrate. All of these plants that we're looking at are endemic to my home country, the Philippines, and literally they are considered weeds. I talk about that in all of my videos, but it's just amazing how we see these plants being marketed and even sold for some pretty high prices at times. And that's a plant that you could literally walk around the Philippines, take a cutting, and you have a new plant. But you know, that's the thing about houseplants. There is no such thing as a houseplant. A houseplant has typically been sourced out from some outside source somewhere else in the world. So it's interesting. I find it interesting. I also find it interesting, you know, that Monstera Thai constellations used to be very expensive, and now you can find them pretty much everywhere. The plant pricing, I'm pretty sure, is going to continue to go down because they're more readily available. And then you can see right here, this is a silver medium amidrium. This is another plant that you really do have to give it a pull. and you also need to give it a lot of light, otherwise it will shoot runners, otherwise it will not fenestrate and show you those beautiful fenestrations. I do love the silver foliage of a silver midrium, beautiful plant. I had one, but then I ended up like neglecting it. You know, that's really the problem with plants. Like, you can get excited about plants, but then if you start to neglect it, at least for me, if I neglect it and I start to see my plants decline, I kind of just give up, and then they just end up getting abandoned and they end up going to plant heaven. So as I share my plant journey with you guys, plant foldies, I am really transparent about how I am not a perfect plant grower. I have my faults as well, but you know, whenever you think about where you went wrong in terms of just how you sent a plant to plant heaven, try to just reassess it, give yourself some grace, either figure out whether you need to add that plant because maybe you can just make some adjustments in your, you know, the way you water your plants or just the care in it, or if that plant is really not suitable for your growing environment in your home. So those are some of the factors I would recommend. Those are some of my plant tips I would recommend. And, you know, as I talk about all of these plant care tips, you can see Proven Winners too has sourced out plants at this local nursery, which is interesting because typically Proven Winners really only sources out to Home Depot. But I love the fact that they have this variegated Wyetii, or also known as a Hoya Kintiana. I actually ended up buying one at Home Depot, but you can see that Callaway's has that sourced out, and you can see that a lot of their plants have actually sold through, which is a good thing. And you can see they actually have little miniature terrarium ornaments here. We've got some Fittonia plants. You can see that is for $19.99. That's really cool, actually. A cool example of making terrariums and how you can decorate them in your home.
You don't want my heart, you don't want my love, you just want me crying over you.
And when you talk about beautiful pink plants, take a look at these polka dot plants right over here, all of the pink varieties. Look at how cute this little starter plant is. This would actually make a perfect starter plant to put into a terrarium. Now with polka dot plants, if you're able to provide them with a little bit more humidity, they're going to do very well. If you let them dry out completely, they get very crispy, and you can see this is more of a pastel color. This one's in a 4-inch planter for only $5.99. So if you love pink plants, definitely consider getting a polka dot plant. The only thing about polka dot plants is you never really want to let the soil dry out completely. They prefer bright indirect light. Do not give them full sun, otherwise their leaves will get a little bit crispy. But more humidity, more bright indirect light, you should be able to grow these successfully. You can take cuttings and root them as well. They're fairly easy, but you can see that they have lots of pink varieties. They also have the white ones, and so if you are a pink plant lover, this one's only for $9.99, for instance. And look at how massive those roots are. It's already root bound. It's a pretty fast growing plant as well. I'm debating on trying to grow the polka dot plant just because I do like pink plants. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm thinking if I am going to grow it, it's probably going to be in more of a terrarium type setting. And in Cryptanthus, these are interesting plants as well. They have a lot of pink varieties. They are very similar to bromeliads actually, and that one is for $19.99. I don't know a lot about the care tips for it. What I do know, it does have like interesting leaf texture. It almost reminds me of a more colorful version of a Sansevieria. And then you can see right here one of my favorite philodendrons. This is a Philodendron Summer Glory. I love the satin look about Philodendron Summer Glory, and the thing about it is when it does unfurl a new leaf, it has more of a caramel brown tone about it, which makes it even more interesting. I think it's a philodendron that's actually more so underrated. You don't really see a lot of people running to Summer Glory. And then we have a bunch of bromeliads right over here. Callaway's is very consistent with the plants that they have, and there's so many locations, so you're always going to find certain plants at different types of locations. They are pretty consistent though with the amount of plants that they provide. Some locations are a little bit more full than others, but at the end of the day, if you have time to just kind of drive around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you will find that particular plant because there is always going to be a Callaway's around the corner. You can see we have some more bromeliads right over here. I definitely want to add more bromeliads. They kind of remind me of more colorful versions of Dracaenas, I think Dracaenas just don't have the pink tone that I look for in bromeliads. So that's, you know, more plants to choose from. You just have to have more space. I have to maximize my space. And you can see right over here, look at how highly variegated this Epipremnum pinnatum neon is right here. You can take several cuttings from this and root them easily in water. They root very easily, and look at how high the variegation is on this particular plant. And I'm just going to pan around and show you all of the different plants they have at Callaway's. Again, I just happened to stop by to see what they have in terms of plants. I'm hoping they'll be able to restock more of the indoor tropical plants. It is fall season, so I believe that a lot of these local nurseries are really trying to source out more of the pumpkins, more of the crotons, but I'm hoping we'll see more plants like this. You can see they even have carnivorous plants like this pitcher plant right here. Super interesting. And you can see they've got some anthuriums right over here. So I am now an anthurium lover just because I have figured out that it's very easy to grow anthurium in semi-hydroponics. So I have an anthurium growing in leca. I have another anthurium I transferred into pond, and they have become very easy, especially now that I have a humidifier in my plant room as well. So I'm able to provide them the humidifier. They're growing under some gentle grow lights. My plant room, it actually faces the south, so they get a lot of natural light as well, and it's just a really good environment for them. I would recommend anthuriums. I'm hoping to collect even more anthuriums, and you can see it is fall season, so they have another croton right over here. We've got some Callaway, and I'm just going to keep walking around and showing you some more of these plants that they have at Callaway. See, we've got Epipremnum aureum or pothos plants. We've got some more Aglaonema right over here. This is an Aglaonema silverado, which I would like to add to my collection because it is an easy to care for plant. That is only for $16.99, which is a really good price for an Aglaonema of this size. This isn't a 6-inch planter, and it's already got a fairly good size. There's a little bit of cosmetic damage, but nothing too major. You can just chop off that leaf if you don't like the look of it. And then we have an Aglaonema BJ Friedman. That's another one. Although it is a common plant, I would add it to my collection collection because it does get some large foliage. And if you want a plant that can tolerate lower light conditions, you can add that. I would recommend still growing Aglaonema in bright indirect light. That way you get the best coloration and just the best growth rate for it, because it'll grow a little bit faster. They're already typically a slow growing plant, but if you give them more bright indirect light. Now, as far as all of these palms, I can't really add palms to my collection because number one, they don't really interest me, and then number two, the lighting conditions for palms, they require just higher light, and it just makes it more difficult. Now, this Dracaena Janet Craig compacta, I talk about this all the time. $16.99, easy plant, low light tolerant. That's a plant that gets a very big, but it also can tolerate a lower light setting. So if you have a dark corner in your area, you can still grow that plant and it will still live. I wouldn't say it would necessarily thrive, but you know, sometimes you can't help what growing environments you have, especially the lighting conditions. And like, take a look at this Syngonium right here for, I believe, $29.99. It's super full. I love how it's super light. And you know, Syngoniums, they bring me a lot of joy, especially when they are in conditions where they're super full. I like the fact that growers are putting many Syngonium plants in one container, so it just gives it a super full look. Again, Syngoniums are common plants to find, but you know, plants that are easy to take care of. I would just recommend making sure that you are watering your Syngoniums consistently. So I would say let the soil dry out about 60 to 40% and then give it a full soak. Because if you let a Syngonium dry out completely for a long period of time, that's when they start to lose their leaves. That's when they start to get leggy. I would also recommend growing Syngoniums in higher light. So even though they can tolerate a little bit of lower light conditions, give them bright indirect light. You know, and you can notice plant foldies, I like to give a lot of my plant insights and plant care because I do find it interesting that I can talk about it from experience. So it's not something that I just read. It's literally from years of growing certain plants, knowing that. For instance, if you're going to grow a pink Syngonium, more light will give it better pink variegation. Otherwise, it tends to start to revert to more of like a pale green tone. And then you can see it is just fall season. I love the orange planters. Look at how gorgeous that golden pothos is with the orange planter. I probably need to like consider maybe even getting like seasonal catch pots where I have orange planters, yellow planters, whenever the seasons change. You know, that's another idea. But then again, whenever you think about ideas, to actually execute and see if they can actually work, that's another story. But you can see mums are available. And then I wanted to take some time to show y'all this Epipremnum aureum neon queen, or this is actually marble queen, sorry, marble queen pothos. Again, this one is an okay variegation, but if you really want to push out the beautiful variegation of a marble queen, you want to make sure that you are giving it as much light as possible. And then this neon queen pothos for $16.99. I love that it's in a 6-inch planter. It is a more newer release pothos. It's basically a variegated form of the neon pothos. I like it a lot. I ended up buying a 4-inch planter of the neon pothos, but the only thing about that plant is you really have to give it a lot of light for it to get that variegation. And then this one is a Philodendron marmalade, but you can see it doesn't really have a lot of that neon color. It just hasn't received quite a bit of light. So any of the neon plants, you want to make sure lots of light. I will repeat that in all of my videos. Let me know in the comments if that has worked out for you, if you've been able to maintain that. Otherwise, unless you know a secret where you can push out more of that neon color. And then the Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue, if you want to get that bluish color as well, you want to give it bright light. And honestly, this plant is actually a thirsty plant. So if you don't water it consistently, it will start to wilt. And another thing is, as far as the light, you need to make sure you give it light. Otherwise, it shoots runners. You can see over here, this is a Philodendron heteroraceum, just a green form. Love the heart-shaped leaves. That one is for $16.99 in a 6-inch planter. But I'm just going to walk through and show you some more of their trailing plants right over here. I'm going to walk outside real quick and just show you all of the other plants that they have. So obviously they've got succulents out here. We've got different types of plants in terms of crotons. So I'm going to take a look at what plants they have. Obviously, they have a ton of croton petras. If you're going to grow crotons though, especially even just for the fall season, make sure you're providing it with quite a bit of light. If you put them in a darker location, like a shaded area, it's not going to be the best for them because they really do thrive on light. They also are a thirsty plant. So I didn't realize that if you don't really water a croton, it will drop its leaves. It kind of behaves like a ficus almost. So you want to make sure that you take care of your crotons in that sense. And then look at this beautiful mum or chrysanthemum. Look at that color. Now that's really not the fall color, but it's still a beautiful plant. And then I also like that they have oranges and reds, and you know, with mums, they are considered perennial. So if you were to plant them in the landscape, even as like a fall flower bed, you can get them to grow back year after year, which is always good. I always consider plants that are considered perennials as permanent plants, because once you put them in the ground, they are pretty much there to stay until you like uproot them or chop them up or just get rid of them. So they are cost effective. And you can see over here, plant foldies, we do have some plumerias. I have a variegated plumeria that I ended up getting at Wild Roots Nursery when I was at PlantCon 2024 in Dallas. Super excited that I got a plumeria. They remind me of my home country as well, because plumerias can grow up to 15 to 20 feet tall. They have very fragrant flowers. Now, when you grow them here, though, you do need to grow them, at least in my grow zone 8B, they have to be in a container because you have to take them inside. They cannot handle cold weather. It is definitely a tropical plant, and it's one that you definitely have to keep away from, you know, cold weather. And then over here, we still have quite a bit of caladiums. I love the look of caladiums. I have a couple, but they're actually growing outside. I haven't really attempted to grow caladiums indoors. I just feel like if I grow caladiums indoors, it would just require quite a bit of care in terms of how much light they're receiving, how much heat they're receiving, and even the humidity levels. Because if you don't provide them those you know, I guess those environmental factors, they may end up just thinking it's cold and they'll just go dormant. But you know, with caladiums, some people love them, some people absolutely hate them. I love them. They're kind of in the same realm as like coleus plants, where you can grow them indoors, you can grow them outdoors. They're really more so like a patio plant or a shade plant, but you can see they have so many different varieties. I've found some really cool Thai hybrids where they had some really unique pink colors, but even the ones that you can commonly find here, they're beautiful plants. So if you want to grow them indoors, just know you need to give them quite a bit of light and make sure that you're keeping that area a little bit warm, because if it gets too cold, they will end up going dormant. And I found this interesting. So look at all of these trailing hanging basket plant. So we've got Swedish variegated ivy, we've got some Tradescanthia, and we got some spider plants. That one is only for $39.99, which is a really good value. So if you just want like a hanging basket of different types of trailing plants, this works. And when you think about some of the other combination planters of different plants that you've seen at big box stores, I think this one makes a little bit more sense because these are all trailing plants. And I don't know, I think that if I were to add a hanging basket of trailing plants, that would be my go-to. And you can see there is a sea of different types of mums. So this is the type of mum I would purchase, the ones that are not in full bloom. And then I'm going to turn around because I know in my previous videos, especially during my spring plant shopping videos, I would always show you guys coleus. But as you can see right here, I have not talked about coleus for quite some time. For the longest time, I had a coleus obsession. I pretty much collected every single coleus I ran into. I still have quite a bit of coleus. They are about 3 to 4 feet tall now outside. I probably need to try to get some of them in film so that way you can see it before it gets cold, and eventually they'll end up having to either be overwinterized or end up dying. What I plan to do with my coleus though is I won't be able to keep all of them alive over the winter, but what I'll do is I'll take cuttings and just keep them stored to where, you know, when the springtime comes around, I don't have to spend all that money having to repurchase a coleus plant. My coleus, I've also pushed out a lot of seeds, so I've allowed them to actually you know, produce seeds in the backyard where there's a bunch of pollinators. So maybe if I grow some of these coleus from seeds, maybe I'll get some hybrids, because there's so many different varieties that I had close to each other. So maybe some cross pollination might cause that. We'll see what that looks like. But coleus plants in general, basic care tips are Depending on what kind of coleus you have, they have what they call some coleus, which are hybrids that can grow in full sun. So this is, for instance, a full sun type coleus. And then you have con coleus like this, where they need to be more in shade. Figure out which one it is. Most coleus though are not sun coleus, so they like to be in shaded areas or bright light. You can grow them indoors. I've seen a lot of European Instagram accounts where there's like this whole coleus community. I was about to be part of that, but then, you know, my mind kind of goes from one plant to another. I don't know if you just end up liking certain plants. I just go back and forth on which plants are the hot item for me. And it's really difficult because I do end up changing which plants I really am into because of these plant shopping videos. You know, being able to like walk around and see plants literally every day because I'm filming content every day. It's a fun time. But as you can see here, plant foldies, we do have some more of these dark foliage purple plants. This one right here is a purple heart plant that you can grow indoors, but you can also grow them as like a ground cover. Same thing with these tradescantias right over here. The only problem I have about tradescantias is unless it's like a tradescantia nanuk, they end up just getting really leggy. So you have to chop them back in order for them to really keep their bushiness. And this is a really nice looking mum. I might actually end up buying a mum just for, you know, just to say that I have a mum for the season. You know, I do love plants that are more seasonally relevant. I'm still trying to figure out why crotons are a fall plant, considering crotons are actually from a tropical country and they grow year round. And they're not really meant to just be an annual plant. I suppose they're an annual plant here because most places cannot maintain that tropical environment. Maybe in Florida, but I know in North Dallas, Texas, you wouldn't be able to grow a croton year round outside. But anyways, plant foldies, as you can see here, we still have a bunch of mums, and this is the type of mum I would still recommend. I would also recommend caladiums. They're still pretty much in season. They're about to go dormant probably in the next 8 weeks, but you can still try to grow them indoors. I'm actually curious to see if somebody can grow a caladium year round indoors under a grow light. Let me know in the comments if you've ever attempted that. But if you want blooming mums right now, you can buy this, for instance, but you just know that those flowers may only last for a good 2-3 weeks versus the ones that haven't actually fully bloomed. And then so many croton petras, I didn't even realize that they were so common, especially in the fall. But you know, I love crotons. There are some varieties that are more unique than others. I prefer the ones that are almost black and red and dark. I think those are cool. But you know, with crotons, that one's for $6.99. They're easy to take care of if you grow them outdoors. I would recommend you guys growing them, especially even if it's just for the fall season. So again, plant foldies, let me know in the comments if you've grown crotons, if you've been interested to try to grow crotons because of my videos. I'm always interested to see what plants I have plant fluenced you guys. I know that some people have started to get into aglaonemas because I constantly talk about them. And so that's, for me, is super fun that, you know, I've been able to kind of influence people on certain plants that maybe you haven't really taken a look at. I would love to know your comments on that. But you can see Callaway's has many plants. Like, look at this variegated plant right here. This one, I would definitely want to add that into my landscape. And you can see here's another Dracaena, beautiful Dracaena, and then they just have many different arrangements. So as you can see, plant foldies, I love supporting local plant nurseries. I hope you have enjoyed this video so far. You can see here again, more coleus plants, more tradescantia, more wax begonia in this little planter. So they do have these custom planters that you can just instantly buy. That one you can actually grow in full sun, that particular coleus. It has done very well for me this season, and you can see all of the custom planters that they made arrangements. So obviously, we like big box store plants, but we also like local nurseries. I hope you guys will visit Green Acres Nursery and Supply, as well as Callaway's Nurseries. As always, please hit the like button for this video if you've enjoyed it. I really would appreciate that support, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel at Growfolds. This is Richie. I'll see you on the next one.